Hi collective, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am the Nosy Witch and this is my channel, Nosy Witch Tarot. Just a heads up, my readings do tend to be fairly long, they tend to be deep dives, so feel free to grab a hot or cold beverage of choice, get settled, get cozy because we have a lot to get through today. So today we are asking what makes you so irresistible and seductive? You know, we are in April now and I thought, with the weather getting a little bit warmer, let's do a spicy reading all about what makes you hot, smexy, charming, and generally irresistible to others. So what about you, your overall energy, pulls people in, what makes you magnetic, and what gets people drooling? Obviously, this is very much a hype you up style reading. That's what I'm here for and that's what I love doing. And I really hope you enjoy this one today because I always have a lot of fun making these. As for your reading breakdown, this one is going to be ever so slightly different to my usual readings because often I start off by doing an energy check using various oracle cards. And sometimes, you know, that's helpful, especially when we do tarot readings asking about other people's energy. Sometimes having that oracle portion there first can be useful in knowing whether a pile is for you, because we look at some of your energy before potentially talking about another person's. But today, this reading is totally focused on you, so I'm going to get straight into it with the tarot. And basically, I am going to be pulling 3 tarot cards at a time, and these 3 cards will represent an aspect of your energy in terms of what makes you irresistible and seductive. And I'm going to be doing that a total of 5 times. So we are still very much going to go into all the juicy details and spill some tea. I'm still going to be very, very thorough with this. Now, because we are doing this 5 times, it could be that we are discussing 5 of your standout features, the things that make you the most schmexy, hot, charming, seductive, etc. Or it could be that each set of 3 cards that we pull unearths something deeper regarding something we've said when discussing the previous 3. If that makes any sense. Or it could be a combination of those things, like each 3 card pull reveals a new thing, but it also adds contextual layers to what we've already discussed. I don't know what's going to come out yet, but I know it's going to be fun and it's going to be spicy, and hopefully it's going to leave you feeling confident and empowered. Now, please remember, these are collective readings. Not every single detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else, and you do not have to accept anything as your story if it simply isn't. If most of the pile sounds like you, but there are just some details you don't align with, that is absolutely normal and it doesn't mean that it's not your pile. It could just be that those particular details are for a specific individual who chose the same pile as you. If you choose a pile and you find that nothing is resonating for you, you are always welcome to choose a different pile. And if you are finding that nothing is resonating for you, that's maybe a sign it's just not your reading today. And that's okay, you are always welcome back for the next one. Once you have selected a pile, please head to the pinned comment or the description box below and timestamps will be listed there. They will take you to the start of your chosen reading. Please always remember these readings are done out of love and with the intention of inspiring and uplifting you and just making you feel great. So if you are finding that you are listening and it's not making you feel great, or it's having the opposite effect and it's actually pissing you off for whatever reason, I would recommend disengaging from this reading today. With all of that said, let's go ahead and introduce our piles. So over here we have pile 1 with the Rainbow Tarot and the Lightning Bolt sticker. Here we have pile 2 with the Gourmet Tarot and the Roller Skate sticker. Here we have pile 3 with the Solar Kingdom Tarot and the Game Controller sticker. Here we have pile 4 with the Final Rose Tarot and the Butterfly sticker. And here we have pile 5 with the Real Talk Tarot and the Cactus sticker. We are about to get started with the readings. I just want to thank you all so much for being here and for listening. It really does mean the world to me knowing that people enjoy these readings. And I'd love to hear about any of the things that resonated for you in the comments. You are always so welcome to chat with me. I love connecting with you guys and I appreciate you sending any love that you can, whether it's in the form of likes, kind comments, shares or subs. It all just means such a lot to me and I really, really do appreciate it so much. I notice every single one and I never ever take it for granted. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here and I will see you at your chosen pile collective. Hi Pile 1 Collective, if you chose the Rainbow Tarot and the Lightning Bolt sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out my introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. But today we are asking what makes you so irresistible and seductive? So why do people find you hot, schmexy, alluring, charming? What draws them in? Why are they into you? Why do they want to come closer and get a piece of what you've got? So this is kind of a what people find attractive about you, but it could also be, aspects of you that they wish they had for themselves. This is all about your standout features, the things that really pull people in and the things that leave them wanting more. So we are going to go right ahead and jump into your tarot. Usual disclaimer here that this is a collective reading and not everything will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. If you find that at any point the reading is becoming more harmful to you than it is helpful, or you're just not into it, please feel free to disengage. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's okay. This is a free reading on the internet and I am not holding you hostage here. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at the first 3 cards we pulled for you, Pile 1. So I'm going to pop your lightning bolt here, move the cards just here, and we have got the 6 of Wands. We've got the 7 of Pentacles reversed. And we've got the 7 of Cups reversed. Okay, so firstly, Pile 1, before we actually talk about the first 3 cards, I want to talk about the lightning bolt sticker that you chose. Because this lightning bolt makes me think that people find you irresistible because a lot of people tend to feel that instantaneous spark with you, that physical chemistry, and this could be because you are just objectively a very attractive human being, and maybe you have this thing where it's like you walk into the room and hearts start to beat just a little bit faster and people feel like they've just been struck by lightning, a sort of love at first sight hits you in your feels moment. So then they're like, I have to go and talk to this person, I have to know them. That's what they get like with you because there's this really heavy, palpable tension in the air. But it could actually be more to do with a general energy or aura that you communicate, either using your body language or using your natural charm. And it just makes people feel that kind of fluttery, butterflies feeling. So often we find, when people are venturing into the dating world, it's like they can go on a few dates with somebody. And I'm sure if you have been in the dating world before, if you have dated before, you have probably experienced this feeling yourself or you know someone who has. But it's like sometimes you can meet someone and you can be like, oh, this person is great, they're good looking, they're funny, they're smart, we have similar morals, I like them as a person, like on paper everything works, but I just don't know if there is a spark there. I just don't know if I can picture anything romantic with them. But for you, it's almost the opposite feeling. It's like people get that immediate spark or that buzz, they get that tingle, they sense this kind of charged energy. So that could make you irresistible in the sense of like, it can just feel really rare to find someone that you actually like as a person, but also you feel that chemistry straight off the bat like that. So it's like people want to hold on to that feeling when they encounter you. And maybe it's literally not even in the context of dating. It could just be that when people are talking to you, they find themselves crushing on you, or they find themselves feeling like, is there a vibe between me and Pile 1? And I'm sure as we get into the reading further, we are going to find out more about why that is. But straight away, there is this thing of like, you just give people the fluttery feelings, okay? You have this certain riz, you have this je ne sais quoi, you have the special something that makes people just kind of like, is it getting hot in here or is that Pile 1? That is the feeling that I'm getting. You could find actually that a lot of people tend to get nervous around you, or they just end up staring at you a little bit longer than usual because it just hits them differently. And for some reason, I'm hearing A Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus and I have no idea why, but maybe that's how people feel seduced by you. You just come in like a wrecking ball and it hits them right in their heart space or right in their sacral space or something like that. But aside from that, if we look at the actual cards here, there's definitely something about one facet of your irresistibility. It has something to do with you being highly regarded, is something I'm getting. And there's this feeling of like, it's clear that you have options or you could have your pick. It's something along those lines. Now, obviously, this is going to manifest in different ways for different people, and I will give a few tangible examples of what this could mean. But the overarching feeling is like, one thing that is kind of seductive about you is that you have other people who will vouch for you. And in some instances, there's actually a lot of people around you who kind of put you up on a pedestal or who praise you in some way. And I think that in itself creates this sense of intrigue from others. Now, this could literally be just a case of you being popular and likable. And when other people hear about that via word of mouth, when you have so many people singing your praises and saying like, oh, we love Pal 1, they're so fun to be around, they're so friendly, they're so interesting, you then become more and more irresistible. You become more of a catch to other people in the vicinity hearing that, because that makes them like, well, now I want to go and talk to this fun and friendly and interesting person. Like, I don't want to be left out. I want to know them too. Kind of gives them FOMO in a way. And you're all the more seductive because you have a lot of people supporting you and just talking about how great you are, like truly not having a bad word to say about you a lot of the time. I'm also picturing crowds of people specifically. Like, you know, if you're out and about and you see a crowd of people gathering around something and you don't know what it is, you are going to be intrigued by that. I was going to say you're going to want to approach, but that's not necessarily the case because some of us are introverted AF, and if we see a crowd, we are going to run far, far away from it. But I think at the very least, if you see a group of people like gathering around something, you're kind of curious, you kind of want to know what that something is that they're gathering around. You might think like, hey, you know, if everyone is gathering in this area, there must be something cool and interesting to look at. I'm hearing something that everybody wants. So yes, you have this reputation for being somebody that a lot of people want in some way, and it creates this deeper sense of intrigue because not everyone can have you, but it makes more people want to kind of shoot their shot. So maybe you find when you're out and about, you tend to get approached a lot, and a part of your seduction is you just not having to do anything but standing out from the crowd in some profound way. And the interesting thing is, it's kind of like this chain reaction to a degree. It's like you step into the room, you attract this attention without trying, and you get people approaching you, wanting conversations with you, or, you know, as one example, asking you if you'd like a drink or if you'd like to dance if you're in a club or something like that. And it makes you all the more seductive and irresistible to other people who are watching that, because then it's like they see that you're in demand, and so they're like, well, I also want to get my chance to talk to the most attractive person in the club or whatever. So there's something about people flocking to you like bees to honey. And it could just be, like we said, you're straight up gorgeous, or you have this natural charisma, or people just like to stop and listen to your stories. And so people are watching and they're like, who is that? Like, who is this person that is managing to captivate the attention of the room without trying? Maybe I should listen too. They are drawn in by it. You know, it could be a mixture of these things. But if it is just based on you being pretty or handsome or whatever, it might actually kind of frustrate you at times because maybe it feels more superficial. It could be like you guys have many amazing and irresistible qualities, not just your looks, but when people reduce it to your looks, it's kind of annoying, and it could feel as though when people approach you, they're just treating you like you are a prize to be won, or they just want to be seen with you on their arm. So it could be a case of you always having to kind of shut that down, especially if you're just literally trying to enjoy like a girls' night or a boys' night with your friends, and there's always somebody trying to talk to you and make it flirty when you are literally just trying to have fun and keep it platonic. But again, I actually think that even you shutting it down, it kind of adds to the allure, because there's this sense of like, you know, this is someone sought after, this is someone in demand, but not everyone can just have access to them like that. And people are very interested because you could take your pick, and there's something irresistible about a person who doesn't have to settle because they can get anything they want, and it's clear that they can get anything they want. Because to be chosen by that person is a privilege, and it doesn't have to be, you know, just in terms of people wanting you romantically or physically. It could even be to do with something you are talented at, and job opportunities, for example. Maybe this is a particular skill you possess, something you are getting recognition for. It's like people want to snatch you up for this thing that you're good at, but they know that you could have your pick from maybe where you want to go or what you want to do career-wise. Six of Wands also makes me think of online platforms, so it could be that you are becoming more popular because there's something seductive about your marketing. You know how to draw people in, or it makes people want to click on your page or buy your product. There is also a message about you being very naturally seductive or naturally irresistible. It's like you're not trying to stand out or get attention or be noticed, but again, you have this thing where you attract people effortlessly like moths to a flame. It's literally when you're not even trying. You don't have to be doing anything, you don't have to be putting any effort in, and people just flock to you. So it could be that people have told you that you are a natural charmer, or you're a natural flirt, or something along those lines. Maybe you deal with social situations a lot better than you think you do sometimes. And maybe friends in the past have said to you like, oh, if I said that, it would just be awkward. Like if I sat there fluttering my eyelashes to flirt with somebody, they'd probably think that I was having a seizure. But Pal 1 just does it so effortlessly. They just have this gift of natural charisma. There's something about you that just absolutely exudes this natural schmexuality, and it doesn't seem forced. And I don't know why, but I'm thinking actually of when people make like thirst trap kind of videos. I'm not saying you do this, but I'm just using this as an example to sort of highlight what I mean. And now, if you use any form of social media, you have probably seen some kind of thirst trap pop up at some point in your life. And I don't have anything against consenting adults posting thirst traps if they want to. I really don't care. I think it's harmless for the most part. It is just a bit of fun, and I think if you're feeling yourself, why not? Like, do what you want. But I think a lot of us, sometimes when we see certain thirst traps, we might feel a little bit cringed out, or we might get the ick, or we feel a little bit of a sense of secondhand embarrassment. I think the thing about it for me personally, and I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but I grew up like kind of on the internet, but where the internet wasn't as big as what it was. Like, I was around back in the MySpace days, and I remember posting so many like cringeworthy pictures of me posing and song lyrics and things like that, and just like stuff that I wouldn't do now. So I think for me, I get secondhand embarrassment sometimes when I look at thirst traps, especially when it's younger people doing them, because I kind of put myself in their shoes and I think like, oh, like when you're older, you might regret this a little bit. But I think it's fine. Like, as long as everyone is a consenting adult, like, it's no big deal. But I feel like empathy for them more than anything, of like, oh, are you going to regret this? But maybe they're just having fun, and that's fine. But I think sometimes aside from that, we might get the ick because we feel like these things can be a little bit forced and unnatural, or like the person is just trying too hard. And I think, again, we do imagine what it would be like to sort of sit at home smexing the camera, and it makes us shudder. Like, it can just be a little bit uncomfortable. But then there are certain creators who make videos that aren't necessarily intended to be thirst traps in the same way, but you end up watching their reel or whatever on repeat as if it's a thirst trap, because the creator just has that natural charm about them. They've got something about them where you find yourself wanting to watch and rewatch, even if they're not trying to be schmexy. And it's the case for, like, sometimes you might watch a celebrity do an interview and you watch that same interview because there's just something about that celebrity and the way they can charm the people around them without trying. So, like, the thirst trap example, the thirst trap creator could be trying to be overtly schmexy by, you know, biting their lip or winking at the camera, and you're like, ugh, you're a bit put off by it. But then the other creator or the celebrity could be doing something random, like building a piece of furniture or cooking, and maybe you notice them bite their lip because they're concentrating, and that is more attractive than the person doing the thirst trap because it just seems a lot more natural and not like it's been forced. And that's the energy you give out. It's almost like you're just existing and people think everything you do is hot. Part of your seduction could be that this charm and this schmex appeal just comes very naturally and effortlessly to you. It doesn't feel awkward in any way. But also, it could be that people find you irresistible regardless of the effort you've put in. So it doesn't matter whether you are on a night out wearing full glam or whether you're pulling up to work barefaced and sleep deprived. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing something that shows your figure or you're more modest and covered up. You still have that thing about you where people are like, who is that? Like, they have a little bit of something about them. I'm also sensing that something irresistible about you, pal one, is that if you're set on something, you don't really let people sway you from your path, and you trust your heart and your inner guidance when it comes to making decisions. So if someone was criticizing your choice of romantic partner, as just one example, and saying like, oh no, you can do better than them, it's kind of irresistible that you're just like, no, but I want them though. It's irresistible that you have all these options and you have these people telling you like, oh, but you could go and do this or this instead. And you're just like, but this is the one I want. Like, this is the one I'm loyal to. This is what I want to do. And you're pretty strong in your convictions. So it could be even more irresistible to the people you have chosen to care for, that they know that they were the ones chosen, even though you could have had anyone. It's that kind of feeling. Aside from that, the Seven of Cups reverse can also be about like sobriety, and I'm not necessarily meaning that literally. Maybe for some of you, you have chosen sobriety, or you don't drink much, and that is appealing because even if you go out, you don't get too messy or all over the place. If that applies, maybe there's something about your lifestyle that is attractive to people. But I think this actually has something to do with your sense of humour. And for some reason, I'm getting something about deadpan humour, or there being something seductive about the way you deliver a line. So it could be like you look at people with this really serious face and you manage to crack a joke with a completely straight face, and it makes you even more irresistible. So some of you could have that more dark or dry or sarcastic humour based on realism, but I'm getting there's something seductive about this very specific way that you look at people. So it could be like you say something with this really neutral expression and the person you're talking to doesn't know whether you're going to crack a smile or laugh or not. Like you can keep a really straight face, but there's something smexy about it. So that's what I'm getting for your first few cards. Let's move on to the next three, pile one. Okay, so we have got the Three of Wands reversed. We have got Strength. And we have got the Five of Swords. Okay, there's this message that I'm getting with these three cards, and I was getting a similar kind of message when we looked at the previous three, and I didn't mention it at the time because I just thought that we'd already spent quite a lot of time on those first few cards. But I am going to say it because it is coming through again here. And that is that people find it really, really difficult to say no to you. And it's something about giving into you being irresistible. So, of course, this can be interpreted in different ways, and I am getting a few different examples. But one that immediately sprang to mind when I looked at these few cards is this idea of like, nobody can stay mad at you for very long. So if you're in a conflict with somebody, it's as though it's very hard for them to stay angry at you. And this could even be in the middle of an argument. I can easily imagine you being the kind of person who starts laughing mid-argument, and then it's like the other person falls prey to it too. They give in, they surrender because they also get the giggles. Maybe you have one of those laughs that's just kind of contagious, and it's easy for you and a person you're in conflict with to just forget why you're mad because you both find something so funny. Or it could just be that you kind of charm your way back into people's hearts. Like maybe you flutter your eyelashes and you're like, oh, you're not still mad at me, are you? And the person's like, oh no, I can't stay mad at you. Like you're irresistible when you look at me like that. It's something along those lines. And we did get a message when we looked at the previous few cards about you kind of being determined when your mind is set on something. And I think what we are getting now kind of plays into that idea, because with Strength, it really does seem like you have this strength in your convictions. And for some of you, when you want something, when your mind is made up on something, you're that type of person where you are not going to stop talking about it. You're going to do everything you can to convince people, like, this is what I want and this is what I'm doing. But one problem some of you guys might have, and this won't be for everyone who chose this pile, but you will know if it's for you, but for just some of you, it's like you get so fixated on a certain idea in the moment. It's like you'll do absolutely everything you can to make that idea a reality, but then once it becomes a reality, maybe you're not that interested in it anymore, or you get focused on the next thing that's capturing your attention. So some of you could kind of struggle when it comes to looking at other options that might be in front of you, or you might find it challenging to like plan for the future, or even to think about what the future version of you would want. You could go through these, I guess, like phases where you are obsessed with a certain thing and you want to learn everything there is to know about it, but then sometimes you lose interest, which might not necessarily bother you because I feel like you see all these phases as learning opportunities. But it does give me this vibe of maybe for some of you, you get wrapped up in your schemes, like whatever the latest thing you're doing is. I don't know why I'm getting schemes, but because you really sell whatever the thing is and you're so enthusiastic about it and people love seeing you so excited and passionate, it's this thing where it's impossible to say no to you. And again, this particular message won't be for everyone, but one example I'm getting just off the top of my head is like, you could become obsessed with doing a particular style of yoga, and you buy an expensive new yoga mat and some cute workout gear, and you're talking about how much you enjoy this style of yoga, and you're talking about the benefits of it, and maybe you finally convince your friend to sign up to classes with you. And your friend, because they can see how much you light up when you talk about yoga, and because you're selling it as the best thing since sliced bread, they're like, yoga isn't usually my thing, but you seem so excited about it, like I can't say no to you. They're like, okay, we'll go to the yoga class. And then maybe 2 weeks later, it's like you just cannot summon up any passion for yoga anymore. And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to go to that class anymore. And your friend is like, okay, but I just signed up to like a year of yoga classes. What am I supposed to do now? Again, it won't be that exact example, but it gives me those kind of vibes where you go through these little phases of getting excited about different things. And I'm hearing there's something irresistible about you giving people your puppy dog eyes and you're saying please come to this class with me. Another example I'm thinking of is almost like when a child asks their parents for a pet, but the parents say no because the parents know full well they are going to be the ones who end up taking care of that pet in the long term. They're going to be the ones taking it on walks. They're going to be the ones paying for the vet's visits and things like that. But the child is like, please, 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 I promise I'll look after it. I promise I won't ask you for anything else ever again. And they put this really great, compelling argument forward of why they should get that pet. It's kind of similar to that, where because you're so set on something, people just eventually give in to you and they're like, oh, okay, I'll get you that pet, or we'll go to that class if it'll make you happy. People will do absolutely anything to see you smile and make you happy, because it's irresistible to see you that way. So let's have a look at your next few cards, pile one. We've got the Three of Pentacles. We've got the Nine of Cups. And we've got the Star. Okay, so this is a really, really cool selection of cards to get, pile one. These cards showing up together just make me feel as though there's something really uplifting about your enthusiasm and the way you inspire people. And it could kind of go back to what we said when we looked at the last few cards. I am seeing how these three could potentially link with those previous three, because you just have this vibe where, again, people can't resist giving in to you in some way. They're like, oh, okay, go on then, because it's you. And I think it has something to do with your general attitude, your cheerfulness, your optimism. It's like if people agree to get on board with something, seeing your face when you're happy is the reward, and it's something they can't resist. It's either that or they just feel like, you know what, pile one seems so confident about this idea that I just have to give it a go. I have to try it out because they seem so enthusiastic about it that I know it must lead to good things. So again, there's this element of you can talk anyone into anything, or you could sell ice to an Eskimo, that kind of thing. But when I say you're great at talking people into things, it's not just, because those things might benefit you. It's not just for selfish reasons. Like the example I gave of you inviting your friend to a class because you want to go to that class. It's not just things like that. Yes, you are good at getting people to join forces with you. You're skilled at getting them on side. But it's also the way you motivate others to do things that are going to be good for them is also this irresistible aspect of you. And I feel as though a lot of it is because of your positivity. You know how to hype people, you know how to get people excited about things, and that joy that you spread is almost contagious. So again, it makes people want to give into it. So this could be, as one example, your friend tells you they want to apply for this job role, but they're kind of lacking in confidence, and so as they're telling you about it, they're also talking themselves out of applying. They're saying yeah, it seems like my dream job, but I don't think I should go for it because I'm probably not going to get it. And I feel like you'd be the kind of friend who steps up and you're like, are you kidding? This job sounds perfect and it sounds like you'd be amazing at it. Come on, let's tidy up your CV, let's submit this application, we'll do it right now. And this person could start off unconvinced, but in the end, the energy that you bring is so irresistible and so contagious, they can't help but be seduced by it. And by the end of that meeting, they're like, okay, go on then, I'll apply. It's like your faith in them gives them faith in themselves. So you inspire others to take positive action in their own life just by bringing that uplifting energy to the table, being that source of joy, giving them hope and helping them look on the bright side of things and instilling confidence within them. And I also feel like there's this way that you carry yourself that's super seductive to other people, and it's because you hold yourself with this air of confidence. And I don't know why I'm getting this, but some of you could be the kind of people where you are very conscientious or you are very deliberate in not talking negatively about yourself because you know the impact that has. Or maybe that's something you've started to notice and be more aware of recently. And sometimes that actually gets other people to notice when they are doing that, and it might inspire them to be a little more like you in some way. So it doesn't have to be this exact example, but I guess a more physical one could be body confidence, for instance. And you don't have to be a woman for this to apply. I am just giving an example based on the fact that I am a woman, and this is something I am personally familiar with and I see a lot of. But as women, we are often socialized to not accept compliments, and we are also encouraged to constantly be on a quest of self-improvement. And self-improvement isn't wrong. A lot of us, that's why we come to tarot, because we are looking to go inwards and reflect and learn something. And that's great. But often I feel as though within society we are encouraged to focus more on the wrong kind of things, and those things keep us trapped in this endless cycle of insecurity. So instead of us improving by working on our emotional regulation or learning a new skill, for instance, we are taught to focus on things like how to get a flat stomach in 2 weeks or how to get a fatter ass. And I'm in no way shaming anyone for wanting those things. I don't think there's anything wrong with the desire to cultivate a certain aesthetic, but I think the problem is when we only focus on the physical, nothing we do ever feels like enough, because the goalposts of what is considered attractive within a societal context are forever moving, and it's just impossible to keep up with them. And when you fix, quote, one thing, the media is always inventing something else to make you feel shitty about, something else that makes you feel not good enough. And not only that, but as women, we are often taught to bond with each other by criticizing ourselves. And I'm thinking specifically of that scene in Mean Girls, which encapsulates this perfectly. It's the one where the girls are all looking in the mirror and they're picking out their flaws and they're waiting for Katie to do the same. And she doesn't really get it straight away because she hasn't been brought up to do that. She hasn't been socialized to do that. But it's that kind of thing where your friend might say like, oh my gosh, I've put on so much weight over the holidays, my stomach is huge, I need to go on a diet. And you feel like you have to reply and say like, oh no you don't, you look amazing. Actually, I've put on so much weight over the holidays and my stomach is so much bigger than yours. I'm the one who needs to lose weight. Not that example exactly, but you get what I mean. And for you, pal one, you don't seem like the kind of person who would do that. Or if you ever did do that, it seems like you're more conscious of it now and you choose to look at things like more positively instead of like making things a competition or making things about the negative. But if we go back to that example of your friend thinking that they've put weight on, if your friend said something like that to you, you might be the kind of person who's like, I think you look amazing. I've put on weight over the holidays, but I'm actually really loving how my curves fill out my outfits, or I like that I look more soft. It's as though you always bring it back to something positive. Again, it doesn't have to be about that topic specifically, but it's like if somebody were to criticize themselves or point out a bad feature, you would find a way to make it into a good thing and uplift them. It doesn't have to be anything physical like that. It's just what other people tend to criticize. You find a way of somehow making it something people aspire to in a way. Like in that scenario of the example we gave, I'm just picturing you in that moment spinning around in a cute outfit and looking in the mirror and having this radiance and this glow about you, and other people see that, and there's something so irresistible about that level of confidence. And maybe it kind of makes them like, you know what, pal one does look really good. Maybe I should start talking kindly about myself or appreciating my body because this air of confidence looks great on them. There's also something irresistible about the way you get people to join in with you. I'm just picturing you being the one to befriend the introverted or shy colleague at your work and you saying like, oh, come for drinks with us tonight. And at first they don't want to, but they find something about your enthusiasm for it just so alluring. And in the end, they're like, okay, I'll come, but just one drink. And then they end up having the best night of their life and staying out till 4 a.m. with you. You have that kind of energy where you can just make anyone do anything. So let's have a look at your next few cards, pal one. We have got the 10 of Wands reversed. We have got the 10 of Swords. And we have got the High Priestess. Okay, pal one, you're irresistible because you're very, very heavily desired, but few people can actually have you. Few people can possess you. There's something very mysterious about your vibe and you really don't give too much away. But going back to what we said at the beginning of your reading, I'm hearing you do know how to play it. So there's something about you where like you don't put it all out on a plate for people, but you do know how to flirt. So you might not be incredibly blunt about your desires. You might sometimes make people read between the lines. But if you're into someone, I do think you facilitate the opportunity for the flirtation to grow. And you're the one kind of leading it, but it's not so obvious that you're leading it because you're not the one saying like, oh, do this, do that. You understand how to build tension and you embody this art of natural seduction. There is something very sensuous about your overall vibe that draws people in. So it could be like the way you touch or some kind of lingering gaze. And it's all a part of this sort of slow burn approach is what I'm getting. And often when people have been rizzed by you, it's like they don't even know that they've been rizzed because you've made them think that they've been the ones doing the seducing or they've been leading it this entire time. But if they have led it, it's because you've let them. Because let me tell you, if you are not into it, you will have an entirely different response. Like, you will shut that kind of thing down very, very promptly if you're not feeling it. And something you might actually struggle with, Pal 1, is feeling as though you attract the wrong kinds of people at times. And the thing is about the High Priestess, she is all about intuition and she's all about having her gut feelings, but she is also about having common sense. So if somebody approaches you and you do not get a good vibe, like, you are not going to give them anything. They are not going to be able to read you. They're not going to be able to get further with you. You are going to be giving them very blunt answers or giving them nothing, because maybe sometimes this is like you getting a lot of unwanted attention or people trying to make it too physical too quickly. And it seems as though when people do that, you have this kind of sixth sense of like, oh, I know what this is about. Like, I know what they want from me. And you're not into that, so you're going to shut it down. Especially if we go back to that example of you being on a night out with friends, for instance, and you're just trying to enjoy your night and you get people approaching you and it's very clear to you what they have in mind. That can get frustrating. And I don't think you're rude about any of it, but you could be someone who has kind of had to learn to say no and be a bit more firm, because you do attract a lot of this attention without trying. And unfortunately, some of the time, you might feel like you are a magnet to those more attention-seeking people because they see the spotlight you've got on you and they want it for themselves. So you could be sitting pretty, you know, catching up with your friends, minding your business in the corner, but it is obvious to anyone watching that I'm hearing the star of the show. So maybe it's like you're telling your friends a funny story and you notice that all eyes are on you, or somebody notices that just lots of eyes generally in the place you're at are on you. And some of these people feel as though it would be a good opportunity for them to join in on your conversation. It would look good for them if you were talking to them. But if you notice it's for the wrong reasons, you are going to be like, oh, no, thank you. I don't want a drink. I'm just literally trying to catch up with my friends. And anyone respectful is going to be like, okay, no worries, have a nice night. But the wrong kinds of people, it's like they interpret this as a challenge, or they're like, oh, Pal 1 is just playing hard to get. And it's like you become more irresistible to those people because they are craving your attention and your validation so badly. And the more they can't get anywhere, the more frustrated they get. But sometimes it's also like the more obsessed they become, especially if we are talking about people who are very much used to getting their own way. So maybe on your end, it feels like you have to say no to these people like 100 times. And on their end, they're like, oh, what's it going to take to get Pal 1 to talk to me? You know, I feel like I'm flogging a dead horse here. Like, normally if I flirt for 10 minutes, I'm in there. But often it's like these kinds of people just aren't getting the hint that they are never going to get anything from you because you're just not into it. And I think if you're not into it, it's in part because you have learned to spot intentions really, really well. But sometimes it's as though people want to come in and almost prove you wrong. So if, for example, you've had an instance where you've said yes to something you didn't actually want to say yes to be polite, and it's backfired, you could find yourself being extra wary of that now. So let's say in the past you have accepted a drink from someone and you've been chatting to them in a friendly way, but then it became clear they wanted more from you and you had to say no. You could have ended up in a position where that person said to you like, oh, I can't believe you accepted a drink from me if you weren't interested, like how dare you lead me on. So now when you spot someone like that come in, you might be like, no thank you, I'm not interested in that way. But then that person is like, oh no, I didn't say I was interested in you, come on, I just want to be friends, let me buy you a drink. But you feel as though deep down you're like, oh, I know where this is going, I know that they are going to want more from that, and I'm not putting myself in that position. But on their end, it's like they kind of want to push it and they're like, why won't Pal 1 just let me buy them this drink? Because it's as though they want you to think that they're a good person or something like that. And getting you to accept something from them or talk to them or spend time with them, it kind of becomes this irresistible challenge. So that could be very frustrating for you, Pal 1, when people don't take your first no as a solid answer. So you could feel like you are kind of seductive to the wrong people at times, because these are people who are seeing you as a conquest or a challenge, and you become irresistible to them because you're not letting them in and they want in. But there is a huge difference between not putting everything out on the table and you just being completely uninterested. And sometimes you are the latter, but the other person is like, oh, it's just a challenge, I like a challenge. And you are just like, buddy, this is a challenge you are not going to overcome. And you give these people nothing, you give them dust. If someone's trying to flirt with you unsolicitedly, I'm getting you just pulling this face of like, what are you doing? But then it's like sometimes those kinds of people find you more irresistible and they're like, why are you being so mean to me, or why are you being so cold? But you're not. Like, when you are into it, you are going to facilitate it. But when you're not, you could have that kind of body language that's very closed off and very much like, leave me alone. And it's because you know what their intentions are. And you are like, I know your intentions and I'm not happy with them. So you give a kind of get away from me vibe, but it sometimes makes people want to come closer. So that's how you're irresistible to the people you don't want. But let's have a look at your next few cards, pile one. So we have got the Ace of Pentacles. We've got the Queen of Wands. And we've got the Three of Cups. Okay, I love how this kind of links up to what we just talked about. Because you know how I mentioned that example of like, there being a difference between, I guess, playing a little bit hard to get and just not being interested. And unfortunately, certain people who approach you because you are so highly desired, they choose not to see the difference in that because they want you, and so they're refusing to consider what you want and what you desire. And I'm saying that they are choosing to do this and refusing to see it because that is not your fault. People need to be held accountable for their own actions. Like, if anyone is making you feel uncomfortable, that is not okay. That is totally on them. But for the people where the feeling is more mutual, you're into them as much as they're into you, and you want to kind of facilitate this space to connect, you present this healthy kind of challenge that is absolutely irresistible, because the Ace of Pentacles talks about new and exciting opportunities. And so a lot of people view you as the new and exciting opportunity. And I just want to mention here that when I say challenge, this energy is very, very different to the kind of person who sees you as a conquest. Like those kinds of people who we touched upon when we looked at the last three cards. In those scenarios, we were talking about a circumstance where you weren't giving anything back. And so you became irresistible in the sense of like, you were something that they wanted and couldn't have. So it became about their ego. You became this object for them to acquire because, again, they weren't thinking about what you wanted. They were thinking about, you know, this is something I don't yet have and I want to have it. It was a pride thing. Whereas in this Ace of Pentacles scenario, you are the one facilitating the seduction. You are the one in control, and they don't even know that you're in control, but this is very much a mutual thing. In that last scenario we discussed, it was about a person being forceful by kind of chasing you down. And in this scenario, it's a person being excited because they're not quite sure where things might go with you, but you're saying like, here I am, show me what you've got, and they're excited to accept that challenge. So this scenario, it's a lot healthier. It's definitely this mutual seduction of like, you are leading the conversation in this irresistible way. And the possibility of growing something with you is very enticing to people. When people spend time with you, when they get talking to you, they're very drawn into like seeing where things go. There's something irresistible about the way you keep people on their toes. So again, it could be like, you know how to flirt and be engaging, but you don't put it all out in the open. You might just kind of say things that makes this person second guess, or it makes them think like, what did Paolo mean by that? Maybe it's something with a double meaning. Maybe it's like you have a slightly dirty sense of humor at times. But also with the Queen of Wands even, she knows she looks good. And there's this thing where like, you know exactly what you're doing. There's something irresistible about you being in control of this situation. So if you go to an event and you know that someone you once had a thing with is going to be there, and you know that their favourite colour to see you in is red, you are going to wear the red dress with just the right amount of cleavage or leg showing, and you're just existing, but it's like you know exactly what you're doing. And you know that there's not a chance that that person is going to be able to resist you, and you don't have to do anything because you know that by the end of the night, that person is going to be yours if you want them. And if you don't, that's fine because you still showed up looking good. And making them regret that they fumbled if they did. There's something irresistible about your laugh and your sense of humour. I keep getting that. There's also something very seductive about your conversational style. There's something I'm hearing about you having this banter with people and having a very fun and interesting back and forth dynamic with people. Something about that is very seductive. I think even with your friends, like when you invite someone out with you, that opportunity to go with you is irresistible because they know that they're just going to have the best time. Like the conversation with you is never ever going to be boring. You're going to find something fun to do. You're going to wind up having a lot of laughs and a lot of stories to tell. And nobody's going to dismiss an opportunity to hang out with you because it always feels like it leads to some kind of chaos. but in the most memorable way. I feel like you're the kind of friend to pull your other friends onto the dance floor when a throwback song comes on and you convince them to do some stupid, goofy dance with you or whatever, as just one example. And they can't say no because your energy just absolutely fills the room. It's so passionate, it's so alive, it's so yellow and sunny. I'm specifically seeing the colour yellow right now. So that could just be how it feels to be around you. I think really warm and bright and vibrant and inviting and welcoming, whilst also being quite bold and daring. All of that is completely irresistible. So that is what I'm getting for your reading, pal one. I really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like the reading, please like the video. Please leave me a comment and let me know what resonated, or just let me know what pal you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please sub if you haven't done so already. All that would help me and this channel so much. And on a personal level, I just love hearing from you guys. I love connecting with you guys. And I really appreciate when you get the time to leave me a comment. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and I'll see you in the next one, pal one. Hi Pal 2 Collective, if you chose the Gourmet Tarot and the roller skate sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. But today we are asking, what makes you so irresistible and seductive? So why do people find you hot, smexy, alluring, charming? What draws them in? Why are they into you? Why do they want to come closer? And why do they want to get a piece of what you've got? So this is kind of what people find attractive about you, but it could also be aspects of you that they wish they had for themselves. This is all about your standout features, the things that really pull people in, and the things that leave them wanting more. So we are going to go right ahead and jump into your tarot. Usual disclaimer here that these are collective readings and not every single detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. And if at any point you are finding this reading is becoming more harmful to you than it is helpful, or you're just straight up not into it, please feel free to disengage. If it's not for you, it's not for you. That's okay. It's a free reading on the internet and I'm not holding you hostage here. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at the first 3 cards we pulled for you, pal 2. I'm just going to pop your sticker to one side for now. I'm going to move your tarot here. And to start off with, we have got the Wheel of Fortune. We've got the 2 of Pentacles. And we've got the Star. Okay, so before we talk about the cards, I just want to talk about the deck you picked and the sticker you picked. Because the deck you picked automatically made me think pal 2 is a snack because it's the Gourmet Tarot. It's literally food related. So that made me think there could definitely be something about you that people quite literally interpret as delicious. So it could be that you're someone who has actually been stopped on the street because somebody wants to ask you what brand of perfume or aftershave or body spray you're wearing because you just smell absolutely divine. It could be somebody complimenting the body butter or leave-in conditioner that you've used after a shower. It could just be that when people lean into you or they go to give you a hug, they're often like, oh, you smell so good. Or you just walk by and you kind of give people this waft of something really yummy. For some of you, it could be that your food is irresistible. Maybe you work in a food-related field. You're a really good cook or a good baker and something about the treats you make is irresistible, but I think for a lot of you it's just that something about you is interpreted as edible and tasty, not in a cannibalistic way, maybe in a romantic kind of a way if you're into that, but I'm trying to say it without actually saying it because I don't know how much YouTube will allow me to say. But yeah, the first thing about you that's irresistible and seductive, it's because people want to devour you in a good way. And it doesn't even have to be that you do anything special necessarily. You don't have to have a super extensive perfume collection. Like even if you just use your basic hygiene essentials and like an unscented lotion or whatever, it could just be that the natural aroma of your skin or your body draws people in some way, in kind of like a raw pheromone type way. So maybe you have this certain hygiene routine down that just worked really well with your body chemistry. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, pal 2, you're so irresistible because you wash your ass. Although you'd be surprised by how many people I hear don't. But what I mean is, like, you make it easy to want to love on you and be close to you when you look, smell, and taste like a snack. Like, basically, nobody's going to be coming near you and asking, like, oh, did you shower today? Or they're not going to be saying, like, oh, hey, you need to brush your teeth, because you've already done it. And even if you haven't, it's like you smell good naturally. So instead of people backing away, people just want to bury their head in your neck and ask, like, what did you put on? It just smells so good. That is something that I'm getting strongly. And with the roller skate sticker, there could be something about never staying still, like you're always going places or you're always on the move. There's definitely something here about an active lifestyle. And I'm also getting a message about taking a lot of pictures, specifically pictures outside or taking pictures in the sun. So maybe there's something alluring about your Instagram pictures. And there's a lot of pictures of you, like, in a forest or on a hike or enjoying the sun somewhere. Maybe there's a lot of pictures that are taken in natural daylight or golden hour or something, and your skin looks really glowy and healthy. I don't know why, but I keep getting an image of this one specific girl in my head, and she keeps popping up, so I'm going to try and describe her. But she's wearing shoes kind of similar to the sticker, but without the wheels. They're sort of a high-top trainer style of shoe. And she's wearing a white or cream crochet style top and a blue floral pattern ditzy style skirt. And she has curly hair, I'd say like maybe 3B or 3C. And I'm seeing her stood in the sun, and I'm also seeing her sat down in the grass, surrounded by nature. And there's just this mood of complete contentment coming off her. She's very present in the moment, and she just seems as though she's doing good. So that feels like it's a message for somebody. I don't know. Maybe some of you do dress in a similar way to that, or you look similar to that, or maybe a lot of your pictures are outdoors, or you do resonate with that feeling of like trying to be more mindful or trying to be more in the moment. Like, I have no idea who this girl is, but she keeps appearing in my head. Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone you know. But she's super pretty though, so if that's you, then congrats. It could be a passed on relative or ancestor even, or a spirit guide. But I will say this girl does look quite young, and it's hard to get a close picture, but if I were to guess, I'd say this girl is early 20s. I don't know. So if this was someone who passed on, maybe it's somebody who passed on before their time, or this could be like a relative when they were younger, even if they didn't pass on before their time. I don't know. I just wanted to mention that because that is coming through strongly in this pile. I feel like it's for somebody. I'm sorry if it's not for you specifically, but it might be for somebody who chose this pile. Oh, you know, the other word I'm also getting with us talking about food is flavour. And with that star card, I'm feeling as though something really seductive about you is that you add your own unique flavour and spice to absolutely everything that you do. You're irresistible because you have your own little way of doing things, and it's not something that can be, I'm hearing, mass marketed. It's not something that can be bought and sold. It's not something that can be replicated or copied. So I am thinking of this more in a metaphorical way, but a literal example is like, let's say you were baking a Victoria sponge cake, and it's 99% the basic formula for a Victoria sponge cake, but you just add this one particular ingredient that elevates it in some way, and it just makes it the best that anyone's ever tasted. And it's like people want to spend hours and hours figuring out your secret recipe, but even if they found out what the ingredient was, they wouldn't know, which ratios to do. They wouldn't quite get it as good as you. So it's something about what you do, whether it's to do with your appearance or your personality or a talent you have. It's this thing where you set a trend that people want to imitate, but there's something perfect about the way you do it that draws people in, and that can't really be copied. And it's going to be different for everyone, of course, but this could be something as simple as, creating a certain aesthetic by adding layers or accessories to an otherwise basic outfit. And it just kind of gives this outfit that edge, or it makes it look a bit more alternative, or like something you don't see every day. You put your own signature stamp on it. Some of you guys could be into thrifting or buying secondhand, or maybe buying and selling on Vinted or Depop or whatever, so you find these unique pieces that just aren't selling mainstream anymore. It's something along those lines, but it could be this thing where people just like a certain element of your personality or your aura, and they want to take a little bit of it for themselves. So if your voice sounds irresistible to them, maybe they want to make their voice a certain pitch to sound like you, or they start using phrases that you use because there's something seductive about the way you articulate yourself or the vocab that you use. Or maybe it's something that you do in terms of a talent that you have, like maybe you write a poem and someone reads it and they want to write about a similar theme and capture the same mood as you, but it just doesn't quite hit the same. It's kind of this vibe of you making it irresistible because you're this natural artist, I guess is what I want to say. Whether it's in terms of how you style yourself or things you create or whatever, it's like you don't have to try too hard to do it, because it just comes from the soul and from the core of you. It comes from this centered place. Whereas maybe for other people, it's more as though they're using it as an aesthetic, or they're just like trying a persona on for size and using it as a role play rather than it being real and authentic. I don't know, there's something irresistible about this rawness and this realness that you possess. And that comes with an air of confidence and effortlessness that is really, really alluring to people. Because if you're doing something, you're not the type of person where it's like, oh, this is a trend I saw on TikTok. You're doing it because it feels like the right thing to do at your core, and so you're very comfortable doing it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with engaging with trends. Like, if you see something on TikTok and you want to try it, I think that's fine as long as you're not harming anybody. There's nothing wrong with experimenting and trying something and then figuring out, like, hey, that's not for me. But if someone starts, let's say, wearing an outfit, not because they actually like it or feel good in it, but they're just doing it because they feel pressured because other people are wearing similar things and it's what's in right now, it's going to be a lot more obvious that that person doesn't feel comfortable in their own skin. You know, the outfit is wearing them more than they are wearing the outfit, because maybe they don't really feel like that outfit is an expression of their authentic selves. But your outfits, or just who you are generally, there's always that signature flavour of you within that, and it can't be replicated. It can only be imitated poorly. And that level of authenticity, that is seductive within itself. It just seems as though you are fully at home with yourself and your choices, and that is very attractive to people. And it's also no wonder that it's inspiring to people as well. But I think people look at you and they sense this contentment that's irresistible, and instead of going inwards and, you know, looking at what they could be doing to cultivate that same sense of contentment, I think that's where sometimes they kind of get it wrong, and they get this idea of like, oh, if I just do what Pal 2 is doing and I follow the recipe step by step, that will make me happy. But it's like they kind of need to find their own thing sometimes. You definitely give those cool without trying kind of vibes, and I feel like a lot of people try to match that, but they end up sort of trying too hard. There's also something irresistible about your attitude towards life and your sense of faith. Even if you are in a situation where you are dealing with some kind of hardship, you have this unyielding, unshakable faith and belief that the universe is preparing you for something better. There's a stillness about you that's irresistible to be around. Like, you are the calm in a storm to people. Something that's seductive about you is that you're kind of floaty, but also grounded at the same time. And I know that kind of sounds like a contradiction, but it's like, you are the type of person who is deeply rooted in nature and the material realm, but you also have this affinity with other realms and this sense of like, oh, there's so much more than what we can see in the physical. And you lead with that, you trust that. It won't be this specific example for you, but the example I'm getting is like if you were stuck on a deserted island with a bunch of other people, and I'm probably getting this because I rewatched Lost again not that long ago, but it's like maybe all the people around you are panicking because you guys are running out of fresh water and you need to go and find some. So there's people around you who are using up all their energy, walking for miles, and then getting mad and shouting at each other because nobody's found water, or, you know, somebody's used the last of the supplies. I can imagine you being that kind of character in that scenario who just sits silently, and when people ask you why you're not panicking, you just calmly say, because I know there's water here, we just have to listen. And everyone's like, listen to what? You are crazy, you're wasting time, you should be doing something. And you're like, shh, and you're like touching the trees and putting your hands against the ground. Or maybe a deer leads you into the forest and you are the one who ends up finding the fresh water all on your own. You kind of have those vibes where you can communicate with the human world that society has constructed, but you are at your core one with nature. It's that kind of thing. You understand animals. You're kind of this otherworldly, ethereal, whimsical, fairy, alien person who just has to do things in their own way, and that way is different to other people's, but it leads you to the best results because you know what you know and nobody can ever talk you out of that knowing. There's definitely something about your style of seduction actually really surprising people, and it's not necessarily about what you do, but I'm getting it's about how you do it. So there's something irresistible about the way you just catch people off guard. This could even be in terms of your responses. There's something about people not really knowing what they're going to get with you, but people always look forward to your commentary and hearing about what you're going to say, because you always say something that nobody else has thought of. The way your brain works is actually irresistible, because the way it formulates thoughts and ideas is just so out there and unexpected. Like, the things you come up with just haven't been done before, and that's why your perspective is so alluring to people. It could also just be about you switching things up generally, like you're irresistible because you're not afraid to try something new. It could even be in the bedroom for some of you. This makes me think of somebody who would be open to engaging in an impromptu role play, or just saying out of the blue, like, hey, do you want to try this thing that I read about online? You always keep it spicy, you always keep it flavorful, you always keep it well seasoned. You always keep people wondering what the next course is going to be, because they never know what it's going to be, but they know it's going to be full of flavour. And I keep getting that phrase, full of flavour, and that's exactly what it is. You just add your own signature ingredient to everything you do, and that unique ingredient is what makes it irresistible. It's what makes it that extra bit special. And this next message might feel kind of random for some of you, but I am getting a message about you being irresistible when you're busy or when you're juggling at multiple things. So if you do have a romantic partner, and even if you don't, but you're open to having a romantic partner in the future, this could very well apply to future partners or partners you've had in the past, I guess. But it's something about you being like your most irresistible when you're rushed off your feet in the morning, trying to get yourself ready and out of the door, and trying to remember everything that you need. Maybe in moments where you are a little bit chaotic or feeling a little bit frazzled, you might find that your partner or future partner takes those opportunities to come up to you and give you an impromptu hug or something along those lines. And you could be like, what are you doing? Like, I'm going to be late. But there's something about, even in those moments where you're kind of all over the place, they find you irresistible. It could also be, for instance, if you're multitasking at work, if you work in a busy environment, maybe people think there's something seductive about your face when you're in like concentration mode or something along those lines, and maybe you catch people staring at you out of the corner of your eye. And if it's not that about you being busy, it could just be about balancing these different sides of yourself. And I'm thinking of the example of like maybe when you're in work versus when you're at a party or something. Like, the way you are at work in that environment is very different to the work's holiday party environment even. You know, it could be that when you're in work, you dress super low key, and then at the work's party, you really go all out and show more of your own personal style. So it's something irresistible about how you can make both looks work. It could also be multitasking in terms of intimacy, like you do something well because you're able to do both things at the same time. Take it how it resonates. That's not always easy to do. Depends what you're doing, I suppose. But yeah, that is a message for somebody. Okay, so let's have a look at your next few cards, pal two. We have got the King of Pentacles. We've got the Devil. And we have got the Six of Cups. Okay, so something that's irresistible and seductive about you, pal two, is that you feel confident in your own choices and in being who you are. And I think we did touch on that a little bit when we looked at the last few cards. We said something about you being quite comfortable in your own skin, I think, and that message is coming through here strongly too, because you read to me at least as someone who very much understands their differences but doesn't feel ashamed about those differences. You feel secure in your choices, and there's something so attractive about a person who is their authentic self and doesn't let anyone else pressure them into conforming into someone who they do not want to be. Like, if someone says to you that something you're doing is weird, whether it's to do with the way you look, the way you style yourself, a belief system, a hobby, a certain quirk that you have in terms of your personality, the way you speak, whatever, and if they're saying it, you know, not from a lens of what is good and right, but what is socially acceptable, I feel like you've come to this place where you're not feeling the need to over-explain your stance on what you're doing. You're not feeling the need to interject silences or people's disapproval with, oh yeah, I know it's a little bit weird, but blah, blah, blah. If someone tells you it's weird, or they tell you like, you know, nobody likes people who do XYZ and it's something that you do, you're just kind of like, yeah, but I like it. Or, yeah, but it works for me. And there's something so alluring about that level of confidence and that element of you just not seeking external validation from anyone. Like, you do what you do and you know how to make it work for you, and you're like, if people don't like it, so be it. But I know me being true to myself is what gets me the most success, and I feel good about the place I'm at. And I think for someone like you, it's clear you have the vision, but it's also clear that you fully believe in your own vision because you're not second guessing it. And that level of self-belief is absolutely irresistible to be around. And this could really be in relation to anything, but the overarching message is, you know, the way that you do something is enterprising and you're not looking to compromise your authenticity for anyone, because you are very confident that by doing what you do, you will attract the right opportunities for you. So just to give a tangible example here, it could be that you choose to look a certain way that challenges gender conventions and you receive a lot of judgment due to that. So one example could be like, I don't know, if you're a woman who gets her septum pierced, and I'm only using that as an example because I see men hating on that a lot, but you could get comments like, oh, you were so pretty before, you were so feminine before, and now you've ruined yourself, like, I would never date you now because you've got that piercing. Or if you are a man who paints your nails, you could get people like, I would never date a man who paints his nails, I like my men to be masculine, and all of this. And just as a little side note, I can't stand when people say things like this, because why are they assuming that they had a chance in the first place? You could very much be the kind of person who is like, I could not care less how dateable you find me, sir or madam. My existence does not revolve around what you do or don't find attractive. The main thing is that you like how you look, and there is something just so gorgeous about that. Now, me personally, as someone who is into all genders, women who go out and get their septum pierced, men who go out and paint their nails, kryptonite, absolute kryptonite. I love it. I'm obsessed. And it's not so much about the piercings or nails specifically, but more the confidence that person has to be unashamedly themselves in a world that can be incredibly judgmental over any tiny thing you do. But even if I didn't love it, what someone does or doesn't do with their body is just not my business, nor should it be. So I can't comprehend when people think the world revolves around them and their preferences. But anyway, it doesn't have to be to do with looks or anything like that, but it could be something that you do that people have criticised, or they're telling you like you should do it differently, and you're like, you know what, no, I'm good with how I do it, I'm good with how I am, and I'm going to be successful if I remain true to myself. And the thing is, that's the best way to be, because like I said, this can be with anything. It doesn't have to be a dating or romantic example, but if we do go back to that example, just for example's sake, and this is about someone not wanting to date you because you do XYZ, like, that's fine. People can date or not date someone for whatever reason they want. But what's the point in pretending to be something you're not to get a date with someone who doesn't like an aspect of who you are? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And you'd just be denying yourself an opportunity to meet someone who doesn't want you to change parts of yourself to accommodate them, because they love everything about who you are authentically. And that's why I get so confused when people are like, well, I wouldn't date you because XYZ, because, like, okay, nobody put you in the running anyway, but plenty of other people would date that person. So nobody needs your opinion. Please simmer down. It's like me, as one example. I know this is a random one. I'm about 5'1", I think. I'm around that height. I don't measure myself. I stopped growing when I was like a preteen or something. So I just stopped measuring myself after a certain point, but I think I'm around that height. I'm definitely under 5'3" anyway. So if someone said to me like, I'm not attracted to shorter girls, I only date girls over 5'6", I'm not going to be like, okay, wait, I can wear 5-inch heels every time I'm with you, so then I'll be 5'6" for you. Because even if they accepted that in the moment, there is going to be resentment on both ends eventually. On my end, it's going to be because every time I see that person, my feet are going to be in agony, I'm going to be in pain, and I'm going to have to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. And on their end, it's because they know deep down that I'm not really 5'6", like they wanted me to be, and this is all just an illusion. So why not cut out all of that and find someone I'm compatible with who does not have those particular height preferences? Because I know that there are many people who won't care that I'm 5'1". And Obviously, that's just a random example, but on your end, it's like you are deeply aware of this too. You don't come at things from a place of lack mentality or feeling like, well, I better adapt to what society wants or what this person wants specifically, or I'm not going to find anyone who will want to date me. You're just kind of like, so be it. If you don't like who I am as a person or an aspect of my appearance or my beliefs or hobbies or what I do for work, so be it, but I'm good because I know I will find someone who loves those things, and I feel free knowing that I can be truly who I am. And freedom, I don't think, is a word I mentioned when we looked at your last few cards, but there is definitely something about you being irresistible to the kinds of people who are subconsciously drawn to the idea of expressing themselves more freely and more authentically, but who still feel bound by certain forms of conditioning that don't allow them to fully lean into that. So there's something where some of you, and this message might not be for everyone, you could have found that the people who are most drawn to you are people who are sometimes confused by their attraction to you because what they say about what they believe contradicts that attraction. But you are irresistible to them because you openly and freely express something that they have deeply repressed. So they have this deep interest and fascination for you that often presents itself by means of them maybe criticizing you, judging you, or occasionally acting as though they're repulsed by something that you do, but it's actually because you existing as you are presents them with a core aspect of themselves that they have not wanted to acknowledge, because maybe they are more set in their ways, or they lack open-mindedness, or because something has been so deeply ingrained in them that they just cannot find a way out. They just go with the status quo. So in terms of an example, and none of my examples have to apply, but I want to give this example because I have personally experienced this. If you are an LGBTQ plus person, maybe you have experienced aggressively heteroschmexual people claiming that they are absolutely 1000% heteroschmexual and then hitting on you in the same breath. And that's the example that popped into my head because as a bi woman, the amount of self-identified straight girls who have said, oh, like, I have nothing against it, but I could never imagine myself wanting to kiss a woman. And then a glass and a half of Prosecco later, and they have been cozying up to me and saying like, I've always wondered what it would be like to kiss a woman though. Just insane. And I know a lot of my LGBTQ plus people have experienced this in different ways, whether you're masc or femme or neither. But this also kind of reminds me of like, even the idea of those people who try to control what their partner wears or what they do when they get into a relationship. And they're saying like, I don't think you should wear XYZ. I'm not into people who don't dress modestly. And it's like, okay, so why didn't you pick someone who dressed modestly in the first place then? Why go for the person who dresses in a way you apparently don't like and aren't attracted to and then try to change them? Like, obviously you were attracted in some way to them or the idea of them. And it's not just with looks, you know, it's also certain behaviour, but it's something about what they're saying contradicting how they actually feel, but them kind of not admitting how they feel because they are chained to that certain way of thinking. And it doesn't even have to be in relation to attraction specifically. It could be somebody calling your hobby weird because it's something that deep down they want to try. Or it could be someone saying they don't think your line of work is a real job because maybe it's an online business or something that's a bit more alternative. And it's because actually they are very curious about it. They want to know more about it. They are attracted to it in some way, and they disguise that maybe by looking down on it or pretending that they look down on it. So you could find that it's surprising the kinds of people who end up attracted to you. Sometimes it's like they kind of act childish about it and they don't always want to admit that that's what the feeling is. You could have also found, pal, too, somewhat unfortunately maybe, depending on the circumstances, that you are irresistible to people from your past. And I think it's because people like to indulge in certain memories of you. There is something that makes them feel nostalgic when they think of you, or it somehow makes them feel young and innocent again. So you might find that exes find it really difficult to let go of you. The pull to know what's going on in your life or what you're up to now is irresistible. Or this desire to reach back out after a period of time is just too seductive to them. They can never leave it alone. It doesn't just have to be with exes, it could be people from your past generally. Maybe you sense a lot of these people check up on you or stalk your page in secrecy because it's like they can't quite let you go. Let's see what we get for your next few cards, pal, too. So we have got the Sun. We've got the Page of Swords, and we've got the Eight of Cups. Okay, pal two, there's something irresistible about your, I want to say, insatiable appetite for knowledge. There's something incredibly seductive about the way you remain curious and open minded about things. You could be the kind of person to ask a lot of questions because you are always searching for the truth about things, or it's like you're always trying to understand why, or you're trying to gain insight of why other people's minds work the way they do, like their motivation for doing things. There's something alluring about the way you're ready to go deep and explore any topic, even topics that often do not get discussed. It's like you create this open space where people can really discuss anything with you and it feels very non-judgmental. It seems like you're someone who asks people questions that they've just never been asked before, and there's something irresistible about having a conversation with you. It's almost like you force people to be introspective in a way. It wouldn't surprise me if you're someone who has asked someone else, like, why do you do that? And the person has said to you, oh, it's just something that we as a society do, or it's just something that my family or my culture do, it's something I was brought up to do. And you're like, yeah, but why though? Like, have you actually ever thought about the reason why, or whether it's something you actively want to be doing? And there's just something that draws people in about the way your mind works and the ways that you kind of make them question their reality. You make them think about things in ways that they haven't thought about before. You might sometimes find that people are kind of opposed to this because some of them don't want to reflect on these things or they don't want to think about it. It wouldn't surprise me if in the past you have had a discussion with somebody and they've gotten mad or started arguing with you when you've asked them to reflect on why they do a certain thing or why they think a certain way. Because this particular Eight of Cups card is making me think of somebody walking past a dirty pile of dishes in the sink and trying to ignore them because they don't want to do the dishes. They're just like, I really don't want to do these dishes tonight, I'll do them tomorrow. So right now I'm just going to pretend they're not there. But the dishes just keep piling up. It's like there's something irresistible about the way you get people to go inwards and be introspective even when they want to escape that. Because even if they're saying like, no, we're not talking about that at the time, they are going to go back to that conversation and be thinking about what you said later on. They're going to replay it. And you're just somebody who tends to see things in an entirely different way to those around you. And these unique perspectives that you offer, it's like people have these moments after they talk with you where they are ruminating over it and they're like, maybe I should look into what Pile 2 said. And I think a lot of this is to do with your confidence and the strength you have in your convictions. And that's not to say like you are always 100% in the right and other people are always 100% in the wrong, because I feel like as humans there is often a middle ground and we can often all learn something from each other. But I think this is more about, you know, going back to what we said about people criticizing you and you being like, nah, I'm good with how I do things. You're also not afraid to kind of question their criticisms. So if somebody tries to tell you that what you're doing is weird or strange, you're not going to be shamed into being like, oh yeah, I agree with you. You're just going to be like, well, why do you think that? And some of these people in the moment might struggle to give you an adequate response. They might be like, it just is, okay? They might not be able to give you a reason, but there's something irresistible about the way you can make people think and encourage them to kind of do their own deep dives. And you can encourage them to change their perspective if it is a perspective that's coming from a place of being closed-minded. The fact you're not afraid to speak your truth makes you so incredibly attractive. Like, if you don't agree with something, you're not just going to go along with whatever the crowd is saying, especially if it's in relation to an injustice. You are going to speak out about it, even if people disagree with you, and that commitment to your truth makes you very alluring. With that Sun card, you are not afraid to shine in a way that's unique to you, even if sometimes it's in more of an unconventional way. And that makes you all the more alluring, because when anyone does anything that's considered unconventional, they often feel like they kind of have to place themselves in the shadows a little bit to avoid being judged or attacked. But you stand firm and you're like, no, I'm good with where I am. I know this is how I shine best. And if you're uncomfortable, you can go and sit in the shadows, but I am not going back there. It feels like you have just come to this place where people absolutely cannot threaten your authentic expression. You very much have your own mind, and if someone is saying they are not happy with something you're doing, you're like, okay, you walk away then. You walk away, because I'm not sitting in the pile of dirty dishes in the corner so you can pretend I'm not there. I'm going to be this tantalizing full English breakfast sizzling away in the sun, and the right people know that I am made just right with just the right ingredients. And that level of you not giving an F, that level of you minding your business and doing what you want and staying true to who you are is so irresistible. So let's have a look at your next few cards, pal two. We've got the Seven of Pentacles. We've got the Queen of Pentacles. And we have got Death. Okay, and with these three cards, pal two, I really feel like there's something irresistible and seductive in terms of the way you usher in new experiences for people. You are incredibly alluring to people because you provide this space where you are kind of able to nurture them through transformative moments. Like, even if they are going through something uncomfortable, you make it more comfortable for them because you kind of talk them through it, or you take care of them through it. It's like you give them what they need even in their darker moments. And it doesn't have to be just darker moments. This could very well be about great experiences too. But we have been mentioning throughout your reading things about you surprising people or you being unexpected, and maybe also you occasionally attracting people who aren't used to doing things in the unique ways that you might do them. And so some of these individuals might require that more gentle touch. I'm also hearing gentle parenting. I don't know why, but it feels like they're drawn to you because there's something in your spirit that provides that for them. It's like you get people to slowly unravel or slowly open up to these new things by kind of easing them into it and creating that sense of safety and security. It's like there's something irresistible about the way you take other people out of their comfort zone without them even realizing it. Because something about you makes coming out of the comfort zone comfortable for them in this weird way. And we did mention that there was something seductive about this ability you have to get people to reflect and consider your way of thinking. And I want to talk about that a bit more because the example I'm getting, particularly when I look at the Seven of Pentacles, this is a really random example, but we did get something about gentle parenting. And I'm thinking of the example of, like, do you know when kids are really fussy eaters and there's only a few safe foods that they will eat? Like, sometimes they will literally only eat like plain pasta, but obviously the parents want to get more nutrients into them, so they try and like hide meat and vegetables in with the pasta in a sauce to try and get the child to eat it. This is kind of making me think of that because I'm picturing a kid picking around these meatballs and the veg and only eating the pasta, and the parents are saying, like, just try a tiny bit of your meatball with the pasta, you might really like it. Because approaching it gently and encouraging that child to just try a bit, as opposed to saying, like, you are not going to leave this room until you eat every single one of these meatballs in one go, is probably going to be a better method for getting them to be open-minded towards food. Because if they are allowed to discover on their own terms that meatballs aren't actually so bad, maybe they're going to turn around and actively ask for meatballs in the future instead of having this negative association with trying new foods. So in a weird way, that is kind of what you do in your conversations with people. You're like, okay, let's leave the meatballs for now, let's skirt around them for now, because it's clear you cannot handle all these meatballs. So let's just focus on something we are both on the same page about, like this pasta. So it's kind of like you are irresistible because you will try to find common ground with somebody and introduce the meatballs slowly instead of just like forcing a meatball down their throat. Meatballs in this case being maybe things you and them disagree about, and pasta being things that you maybe share the same sentiment about, or things that are easier for them to digest. So even if you have the capacity for all of these abstract, complex ideas, it's like you also have the ability to kind of come back down to earth and meet people on this very human level and explain things to them from your perspective in a way that they can understand more readily. And that helps integrate people into their own transformative moments. So it's like one little bit at a time, it becomes irresistible to change because you don't force it. You think carefully before you speak and you take stock of how much the person you're dealing with can deal with themselves. And that is what is going to achieve the best results. And so you're not like, you know, if you're not eating all of these meatballs right now, you're a lost cause. You're like, well, I'm going to enjoy pasta and meatballs. You can join me if you like. And you create this warm and welcoming environment for them to enjoy things without that pressure. And in that, you are nurturing this person's growth as they move beyond their comfort zone. But it's not just with like disagreements, it's with good things too. It could be getting people to literally try new foods or activities that they've never tried before. And again, there's this gentleness with it and there's this sensitivity because you understand, you know, what's not a big deal for you because you do it all the time might be pushing another person really far out of their comfort zone. So it's like you invite people to do things alongside you, but if they tell you it's too much, you're like, okay, well, maybe we'll just try XYZ. And if they do the smaller thing that takes a little bit less bravery, they often realise that it wasn't that hard. And they're like, wow, that was so much fun. Maybe I can do the even scarier thing next time. It's as though you help them decide that on their own terms, though. But the urge to be alongside you doing these things is irresistible. And the more people transform when they're with you, the more they're kind of like, now what else can we do to feel alive? And they don't even realise how far they've come out of that comfort zone they were so determined to stay in at first. I also feel like a lot of people in your life have this overwhelming desire to reach out to you, perhaps when they're experiencing these big moments in their life or they're going through difficult times, because there's something irresistible about like hearing your voice or what you have to say, because firstly, you always have that new perspective to add to the situation, but it's also as though you know just the right things to say and just how they need to be cared for. And it's because you do have this very non-judgmental attitude and you know how to meet people where they're at. So let's have a look at what we pull for your last 3 cards at pile 2. So we have got the Lovers, and it's a pretzel. We have the Knight of Cups, and it's a coffee. Wow, pretzel and a coffee, perfect. And we've got the 5 of Wands. I think that is like a fondue type thing. I don't know. The energy of these cards is so interesting though, because the Lovers and the 5 of Wands, it's almost like polar opposite vibes, you know, loving versus fighting. But to me, it makes sense because there's something polarizing about you, and I don't think this is necessarily a case of you being like, oh, I'm going to say something polarizing to get a reaction and make people argue with me. You're not trying to be controversial. It's more like people find your authentic existence polarizing in some way, and I don't know what it is about you specifically that makes them feel that way. It's going to be different for everyone. It doesn't have to be anything major. But even just you existing can be polarizing for some people, particularly if you guys are part of any kind of marginalized community. Bigots are going to find you polarizing just through the simple fact that you exist. But particularly when you are also someone who shows up being unashamed of who you are and maybe also speaking out against injustices, being vocal about your beliefs, that's bound to rub some people the wrong way no matter who you are. So it could just be somebody witnessing you doing something that they have internalized shame about and seeing that you have not internalized the same shame about that thing. It's like that somehow threatens their worldview. But whatever it is that makes you polarizing in some way, it's also the reason why you're so irresistible. Because again, you are not afraid to stand in your truth. You have that confidence to say what you think, and people see that there's a lot of power in that. And so it doesn't necessarily matter whether people love or hate you. They are still drawn to you. They're still attracted to you in some way. Even if it's drawn into arguing with you just to get a little bit of your attention, it's very clear they're still wanting to spend that time and energy on you. That said, the people who, I guess, more naturally share your vision or align with you more effortlessly without having to be gently coaxed into it, those people absolutely love and adore you and what you stand for, and you could find that the desire to imitate you or the desire to seek advice from you or for you to lead them is irresistible to those people. Maybe they're always wanting to hear what you have to say about things or invite you places or spend time with you because they just know that your input is going to be invaluable to them. People might find it difficult to resist kind of fawning over you in those instances because you bring them these ideas in a whole new way. They admire your imagination and the way you consider things in a way that others often don't, and so they struggle to resist the urge to kind of just want to tell you how great you are and maybe put you on a pedestal at times. I don't want to say love bomb you because I don't think it's deliberate manipulation on their part most of the time. I think when a lot of people encounter you, they are genuinely enamored and they are genuinely like, I have never met anyone like this before. And so they sometimes can't resist putting you in this position where they want to express this endless gratitude towards you, because for those people, maybe you share so many of the same values, but they just feel as though you articulate it in a way that makes sense to a greater majority of the population. And so they might be like, you know, thank you for the way you express these ideas. Thank you for the art you create. Thank you for just being you. It's almost like they kind of fangirl over you, or they're like, you know, I just appreciate that you so succinctly said this, or I could never explain it as well as you, but thank you for doing that. And there could be people finding you irresistible just due to the beliefs that you hold because they feel like you and them are somehow kindred spirits. People can't resist telling you that they feel aligned with you and saying like, I just feel like we vibe well because I love all that you are. Like, you're so authentic, you're so real, you speak the facts, and I love that you're so unafraid of being you. And then on the flip side, you have these people where, as we said, they might feel more threatened by an aspect of who you are. And if they don't share your worldview, it's like they cannot resist saying something to try and put you down, because you existing confidently to them is somehow undermining their beliefs, which are actually more rooted in conditioning. But even with those people, they struggle to mind their business when it comes to you. They can't just let you be, because you being so real and raw and free is uncomfortable to those that are keeping their own realness and rawness and freedom locked in a cage. So instead, it's easier for them to fight, it's easier for them to attack, they just can't resist it. So you do probably experience both sides of that, and in both cases, people tend to be obsessed with you and very drawn in by you, by something you're doing or just a way that you naturally are. So that is what I'm getting for you, pal two. I really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like the reading, please do me a massive favour and like the video. Please leave me a comment and let me know what resonated for you if you get a chance, or just let me know what pal you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please consider subbing if you haven't done so already. That would just help me and help this channel so much, and on a personal note, I just really love hearing from you guys. With all of that said, thank you so much for listening, thank you so much for being here, take care, and I will see you in the next one, pal two. Hi Pal 3 Collective, if you chose the Solar Kingdom Tarot and the Game Controller sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference, but today we are asking what makes you so irresistible and seductive. So why do people find you hot, smexy, alluring, charming? What draws them in? Why are they into you? Why do they want to come closer and get a piece of what you've got? So this is kind of what people find attractive about you, but it could also be aspects of you that they wish they had for themselves. This is going to be all about your standout features, the things that really pull people in and leave them wanting more. So we are going to go right ahead and jump into your tarot. Usual disclaimer that this is a collective reading and not everything will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. If you find that at any point this reading is becoming more harmful to you than it is helpful, or you're just not into it, please feel free to disengage. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's okay. This is a free reading on the internet and I am not holding you hostage here. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at the first three cards that we pulled for you, pal 3. I'm just going to pop your sticker here for now. I'm going to move your tarot over here and let's have a look at what we get. So we have got the 8 of Pentacles, we have got the Moon, and we have got the Queen of Cups. Okay, pal 3, so as I have done with all of the piles so far, I will talk briefly about the sticker that you have chosen today, and very much stating the obvious here, but you could very well be a gamer. Maybe gaming is your way of decompressing and kind of, I want to say, dissociating from the outside world in a way, because I can see you as very much being a pile that needs to do that, especially with that Queen of Cups and the Moon. You guys are probably very energetically sensitive. You probably know this, and I would imagine that you do need a considerable amount of time away from other people to decompress, but to focus on the sticker for just a little bit longer before we properly get into those cards. You could like to watch content reviewing or playing games is something I'm getting, like something where you just kind of can zone out. I'm also hearing something about a streamer, so maybe there is a particular creator who does gaming live streams and you watch that person, or maybe you're in that community or you are a creator or a streamer yourself. That could just be a message for one person. I am now also getting something about cozy games, but it doesn't have to be. I think that's just naturally what I think of when I think about using games as a form of relaxation, because I can be chaotic and anxious and in fight or flight mode a lot in my daily life. So when I'm winding down, I tend to gravitate towards games where maybe the stakes aren't that high, because I really don't need any extra adrenaline, to be quite honest. But I know a lot of people do the opposite. Like many of my friends, people in my life, love to wind down with more of the high stakes, competitive, goal-orientated games, and that's okay too. It's whatever helps you escape from the outside world a little bit. I can imagine you definitely being someone who from time to time needs that form of escapism when the world gets too much, is what I want to say. And it might actually really help you when you get to hyper-focus on something, because especially with that Eight of Pentacles, this definitely makes me think of someone who can throw their entire being into what they're doing. So in the context of gaming, this is making me think of someone who refuses to get distracted by what's going on around them because they're consumed by getting to that next level of the game, as one example. Like, if you were literally gaming, it could be that your partner could stand completely naked in front of you and you wouldn't even notice, or someone could ask you a question 10 times and you haven't heard them because you're so engaged with whatever is in front of you. And it doesn't have to be specifically gaming like that example. It could be whatever you kind of throw your hand at. You could be someone who gets in those modes easily where once you start something, you become totally obsessed and all consumed by it. And you have to like make it the best it can be before you can move along to something else, before you can let yourself do that, is what I want to say. So I'm also getting this energy of maybe you being a bit of a perfectionist or liking things in a very particular way or order. This makes me think you could be the kind of person who would definitely notice if someone moved your stuff, then put it back in the wrong order because you'd observe that something about it was just not quite right, even if it only moved like a quarter of an inch. This is also making me think of somebody with a great deal of tenacity. Like, you do not give up on something until you know that you are fully satisfied with it and you've made it the very best that it can be. And this desire to like fully throw yourself into things like that makes you so irresistible, because this is not just how you are in one area, this is how you are in many different areas of your life. Because yes, the example I gave about being fixated on a game and ignoring someone who's talking to you, that isn't necessarily seductive for the person who wants your attention and who you're ignoring, but it's this idea that whatever has captured your attention in that moment, that thing has your full and undivided attention. That passion you have for the thing you're looking at and the things you throw your energy into and you care about, that is irresistible. And that also translates to certain relationships that you have in your life. It could even refer to physical intimacy. It could translate to how you listen and care for people. You give people everything that you have. You pour your entire heart and soul into whatever you do. And that is a huge part of your personal brand of seduction. You're irresistible because when you are focused on somebody, you know how to make them feel important and like they are the literal center of the universe. And you don't stop until you have given them the very best. You hold yourself to high standards when it comes to how you treat those that you care about, and you really won't settle for less than perfection. And that makes you irresistible because people know that with you, it's like they're getting high quality everything. There is definitely something being highlighted about your eye contact being seductive here. And again, what's being brought to my attention is something about like when you're having a conversation with someone, it's like there's nobody else in the room. You don't look away, or you know how to hold their gaze, and you really know how to listen and how to make them feel seen. I'm also getting that you're irresistible because it feels like you can see into people's souls, or you can read them really easily or something like that. There's this thing that people have with you, and you might have noticed this, it's where they can't resist this urge to pour their entire souls out to you because they just feel as though there's no hiding the truth from you. Like, you can see right through them. You are going to uncover it anyway, so they may as well be honest. There's also something where people just sense like you could spot their deepest insecurities. And so it's almost like people can't resist opening up to you preemptively because they're saying like, you see it anyway. Like, you see it anyway, so I might as well just tell you. So you could get a lot of people who don't even necessarily know you that well, just kind of trusting you and sort of releasing their pain, letting their pain go, or letting their emotions flow around you. And they kind of might even surprise themselves with this. It's like they can't resist the urge to do this, but then afterwards they're like, oh my gosh, I've never told anyone that, or I've not spoken about that for years. And you have this vibe where people are just drawn to you and they feel like it's safe to tell you things and that the information will be kept by you. Like, they can tell you things in confidence and they know that it will not leave the room. Your secrets are safe with them. One part of your irresistibility feels like it's to do with you listening more than you speak. You don't tell everybody about your business, and that makes you alluring in this very, very mysterious way. I'm actually hearing Mysterious Girl by Peter Andre playing in my head right now, so you could kind of be seen in that way. It's like people are drawn to you because they never quite know what you're up to, but they want to find out. And I feel like a part of why you're seductive is due to you being kind of humble about your successes. You're somebody who just tends to make moves in silence, and you really do keep a lot to yourself. You could be somewhat introverted, but there is always this sense that like there's always more than what meets the eye, or there's a lot more bubbling up under the surface. Because a lot of you feel things incredibly deeply. You know this. You could identify as being highly sensitive individuals, and you experience everything with so much ferocity, but I don't think that necessarily always shows on the outside. I'm hearing like just the tip of the iceberg. So people, when they encounter you, they find you irresistible because they know that there's something underneath the layers, but they can't quite get to it. And I'm seeing specifically that image of the iceberg that loads and loads of creators use for their content when they're doing a deep dive on the topic. I'm sure you know the one, but I just keep hearing there's more to the story. So again, like if it's that example of you listening more than you speak, if you are quiet in a scenario, it's not because you don't have anything to say. You actually have a lot to say and people can sense this, but you might keep a lot of it inside. And yeah, a lot of people do sense it. A lot of people know that there's way more going on than what they know about at a surface level. And they try to figure you out like you're this puzzle or some kind of unique artifact that they can just see a small part of, but they can't quite unearth you fully. So they just keep digging. They can't resist continuing to dig for it. They're hoping that they can uncover the whole thing. But there's an element of your irresistibility that just speaks to people without saying anything. And it's this vibe of like, but you'll never uncover all of it, or you'll never know the real me. Like there's so many layers. You give this vibe of having so much depth and passion and desire behind your eyes, but it feels as though some of it is very controlled or to a degree like locked in a cage. But people can sense it if they spend a degree of time in your energy. And there is this element kind of like where you like to be in control of how much people see or what they see. And so maybe that's why some of the time you don't say too much or you keep more to yourself. And perhaps you only share more of those deeper aspects of yourself with those who you are truly dedicated to. I'm hearing the word disarming, so there's something disarming about your beauty that people kind of get lost in. It could be that people often make eye contact with you and they struggle to look away because it's very intense, or maybe they look at you and even if they were mid-sentence, they forget what they were saying, almost like they get lost in your eyes. It's like everything falls away and they can only focus on you. There's very much this intensity to it. I'm also hearing the phrase still waters run deep. So there is a calmness, there's a tranquility, but there is definitely something bubbling up beneath the waters. And you're in control of it, but at the same time, there's this awareness that something powerful could be unleashed at any time. And it's somewhat unsettling, but it's also deeply alluring, and it absolutely draws people to you and makes them want to be in your energy field because they can feel something, they can sense something, but they don't quite know what it is, and they always want to stick around to find out more. There's something seductive about the way it feels like you can just read people's minds, or the way you just know things without being told. You are absolutely my pile of intuitives, my pile of people with profound psychic abilities, prophetic dreams, inner knowings. Even if it's not something you consciously utilize, this is something it feels like you have been doing your whole life, or at least for a very, very long time. And there's something deeply alluring about the way that you know to rely on your intuition in a way that other people might often bypass or ignore. And it's like you're irresistible because you possess this softness, but it's with some kind of edge or this underlying feeling of danger, or like, I don't know, it's something to do with the power of your emotions, like people can physically feel it. I think it's also because people aren't always sure how to read you as easily as you read them. Maybe certain people feel uncertain or confused around you because you don't really tend to show them who you are very easily. There's definitely resistance there and some kind of guard being up. Although even the guard in and of itself is intriguing to people because it's as though they kind of want to meet your expectations, or they want to prove to you that they are someone who is worthy of trusting or worthy of opening up to, that they're someone who's worthy of getting to know the real you, because that's not something you let everyone do. So there's an irresistibility in the fact that you are very exclusive in terms of who you let in your inner circle and who you spend your time with. And it's like getting to know you on that deeper level becomes this irresistible goal to work towards, because people meet you and they want to know, like, you know, what else is there? Like, how deep does the iceberg go? Like, what else can we uncover? A part of what makes you irresistible is that you are observant in a way that others often aren't. You might notice details about people that other people ignore. You pick up on the little things and you remember things about people that others forget, and that is part of your seduction. Your power is using the knowledge that people have given to you freely without having to reveal anything about yourself, and becoming irresistible by making those people feel like you see them and you notice them. You're saying to them, like, I notice these other things about you that other people don't. And again, it makes them feel special, it makes them feel important and like you pay attention. And that is so irresistible in a world where our attention spans have become not the best, or even just the fact that a lot of people tend to be very me orientated. This is a way that shows you care that is not just based on the superficial, and it feels irresistible to be fully known and understood by somebody like that. You also understand things conceptually without having to be told, and that is because of your profound sense of empathy and your ability to put yourself in other people's shoes. It's this ability to mirror back to people exactly the ways they might feel, because you also feel it and sense it just by being around them. I don't know if any of you have ever watched Skins, the UK version, but you are kind of giving me slight Effie from Skins vibes. Like, everybody sort of pined after her without her having to say much at all, but very few people got to see her vulnerabilities or know the real her. It's that kind of mysterious, mystical energy that you possess. And so that was a really interesting start, but let's have a look at your next few cards, pile 3. Okay, so we have got the Knight of Pentacles. We have got the Four of Swords. And we've got the Nine of Wands. Yeah, with these cards, there's something about you being irresistible, because it often seems as though you're holding out on people, or you have a secret that you're just not wanting to share. And this is just a vibe that people get when they make eye contact with you or they interact with you. It's this feeling of you just knowing more than you let on. And whoever is on the receiving end of that, it's like they always want to know what the thing is that you're hiding, because it just seems like, again, there's something you're not telling people. Maybe you're kind of guarded when people ask you questions. Like, if you don't want them to know something, maybe you're just kind of smiling at them and saying like, I'm not telling you, or they ask you something and you're like, why do you want to know that? There's definitely something seductive about this energy of secrecy that you give off. You have this aura about you that kind of makes people want to chase you anywhere to discover what you're keeping from them, because you never just come right out and say it. You're like, you know, if you want to find this out, I'm not making it easy for you. And I don't know why, but I'm picturing you as this kind of fairy-like creature just giggling and running off into the forest. And so people are confused by you, they're perplexed by you. I'm getting the word beguiling. I'm like seeing it, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. They can't quite work out what you've said to them or what you want, but they want to kind of follow you into the forest because they feel as though you are going to lead them to some kind of treasure or just something interesting that's not like something that they would experience just every day. But in that example, it's not like you're saying to them, hey, there's treasure in the forest, and if you follow me, maybe you'll get a chance to find some of it. You're a lot more cryptic with it. You make them play games to work it out. So if someone says like, what's in the forest? You act coy about it and you're like, you'll just have to wait and see. It's that kind of thing where not everything is just laid out so easily. You do make people work for it. And so that's alluring to them, because knowing what's going on with you and what you're up to just generally always feels like a challenge, or it feels like some kind of puzzle. It's almost like a fun puzzle though, like working out how to get out of an escape room or something like that. There's something irresistible about the way that people can tell that you want to say a lot more than you actually do. Like, people can clearly tell that you are observant, you notice a lot, and they kind of know that you have more opinions on things than what you initially let on. But sometimes it's as though you choose to nod and smile or play innocent, but they can see it in your eyes that you have this swarm of thoughts or a swarm of feelings and things you'd like to say, but you don't. And so it's like they want to coax that out of you. Sometimes it might even be that people tend to verbally seek your approval or your validation because you just don't really give too much away on that surface level. Even though they can tell that you're thinking through something carefully, they might actually have to prompt you first. They might have to ask you like, oh, so what do you think of that? And your response, it's very measured, it's very composed, but they know that there's this small part that you hold back with. And sometimes it's like that part that you hold back is the irresistible part, because it gets people like, what is pal 3 really thinking? Like, I know that there is so much more going on behind their eyes, but in terms of what they say, they keep things really cool or they stay detached. And I'm also getting that there's something irresistible about the way you look when you're just done with something. And again, there's something about your eye contact being highlighted here that keeps being brought to my attention. This could be like when there's something going on around you, you don't say anything, but maybe you make eye contact with your friend. And it's this vibe of like, are you seeing this? Or are you thinking what I'm thinking? Because you have this mind reading kind of energy, you have this telepathic connection with certain people. Or it could even be you're someone who's just naturally expressive with your eyes, like you raise your eyebrows or you roll your eyes and people find it irresistible. Even if you're doing an expression that indicates that you're kind of tired of them, like you're kind of done with them, you could be that kind of person who, if someone says something cheesy to you, you're like, shut up, and you roll your eyes, but they find the way that you do it really enticing. Especially if they know that deep down you can be a total softie or you have more vulnerabilities than what you show. It's kind of like there's something irresistible about the way you put up this wall and maybe try to act a little bit tougher than what you actually are in certain instances. I mean, you are tough, as in emotionally strong and resilient, but you definitely do have this softer or more romantic side that maybe you don't always like people to see, but when they see glimpses of it, they find it absolutely irresistible. It could even be something like, let's say you're someone who always has a bit of a resting bitch face. It doesn't have to be this example for you, but let's say that is you, or you know that you always look serious, but occasionally when people get you to crack a smile, maybe you say to them like you're so annoying and you're rolling your eyes and you try to resist giving in to a smile, but then they see a hint of dimple on your cheek or something like that and they find it really adorable and irresistible when you give in to that. Like, there's something seductive about the way you try to keep a straight face, or you try to maintain this, I guess, more moody or grumpy or darker persona, when actually there's a lot more to you than just that. You could definitely be that person, though, who on the surface has a bit more of a cynical or sarcastic or dry or darker sense of humour. And if someone says something mushy-gushy to you, you might be like, oh, you're being so cringe. But then maybe they can secretly see that you're blushing a bit and they find those little moments of vulnerability really enticing because, again, it just shows that there is a lot more to you. And I don't want anybody to take the next thing the wrong way. It won't apply for all of you. But you have an energy to you that's kind of tired sometimes, and I don't mean it as in like, oh, you didn't get a good night's sleep and you have bags under your eyes. It's not necessarily that kind of tiredness. It's more like world weary in a way, and that's what I meant when I was saying like, oh, sometimes you look like you're just done with things. I think sometimes it seems as though you're done living as a human, and some of your sense of humour could kind of centre around that experience. I can imagine you being the kind of person where if somebody says something so stupid or ridiculous, you might make those jokes that are like, honestly, the best we can hope for is that an asteroid hits us because humanity is cooked if people are saying stuff like that. I can imagine you kind of being that way. Or if someone, you know, as one other example, saw you doing something that they deemed unhealthy and they were like, oh, doing that's going to kill you faster, you could be the kind of person who's like, don't threaten me with a good time. It's that kind of feeling that you give where you're just sort of done with everyone and everything. And I don't think it's actually that you are a cynic deep down. I think you have experienced a lot of heavy emotions throughout your life and you've kind of taken on this burden of experiencing other people's emotions at times too. So this could be your way of coping with those darker moments and maybe making light of certain things that you've been through. But I feel like it's really alluring to people because your energy denotes someone who has experienced a lot and somebody who knows a lot about the human condition through their own experiences. And so it's like they're kind of seduced by this idea of finding out what has led to that or what's made you that way, because that is just not information that you give out incredibly easily. I also feel like you truly don't make time for a lot of people, so the idea of getting close to you is irresistible because people know you don't just allow anyone and everyone to do that. The song I was getting in my head when I was thinking about your energy is Born Tired by Janae. I think that song kind of encapsulates the feeling that I'm getting here overall. It's this idea of like being born tired because the weight of the world is so much, not that you actually look physically tired or anything like that. I mean, for some of you, it could be that you do struggle to sleep and you'll come into work and say like, oh, I didn't sleep until 3 a.m. last night. And even in that, people are seduced with this idea of finding out more about you because maybe then they're thinking like, what was pal 3 doing up until 3 a.m? What do they think about when they go to sleep? What keeps them up at night? Because so much of that is hidden away, and when it comes into people's minds, they just wonder a lot when it comes to you because they don't know the real answer. You could be someone who does need a lot more rest and a lot more downtime than other people around you. Maybe you are a little bit of a homebody, or home is like your safe sanctuary. maybe the idea of getting you out or getting you to spend time around others is irresistible, because a lot of the time you prefer to be by yourself or you prefer to be doing your own thing. So when you do actually do something social, maybe it becomes this big deal and people try to make it this opportunity to find out as much as they can about you, but still you kind of keep them at arm's length. You kind of still a little bit guarded. I feel as though there's something irresistible about these moments you have where it seems like you're just in your own little world. I think often people will glance at you and it seems like you're in deep contemplation about something, but they have no idea what you're thinking and they'd love to find out. So you do have this somewhat guarded exterior, but at the same time, there's something absolutely irresistible about how deeply you care for the people you love. And you do have this more sentimental side. Like, I can absolutely imagine you being the person at the party who sits in the corner befriending the cat. Or I can imagine you being that kind of person who says that they love interacting with animals more than they love interacting with humans, or something along those lines. There's something irresistible about how you reserve this softness for those who are vulnerable. Like, maybe you have a little bit of this tougher, don't F with me kind of exterior, but then people at the same time will see you being really sweet and softly spoken when you are interacting with animals or with small children or something, and it just makes you even more irresistible, the fact that you have this duality. And now I'm thinking of the song Duality by Slipknot. Maybe some of you guys like Slipknot, or you did when you were younger. So let's have a look at your next few cards. We have got the Seven of Swords. We've got the Five of Pentacles. And we've got the Hierophant. Okay, so again, we are kind of getting these messages about you always knowing more than you let on, or always having, I'm hearing some kind of strategy. And with that Hierophant card, there's something about your energy where it just seems as though you are this all-seeing eye, or you have the answers to everything. And so you could tend to find, and I think we did touch on this earlier, that people just can't resist opening up to you, or essentially giving you their entire life story, maybe trauma dumping on you at times, because they somehow feel like you'll just be able to understand their life experience in a way that other people can't. And again, it's that energy we mentioned before of them thinking like, well, I might as well just tell you because you probably know anyway. They feel you can already pick up on it, so they don't even bother resisting. They're just like spilling their secrets left, right and centre when it comes to you. And I also feel like people can't resist asking for your advice because they just somehow feel as though you'll know the right thing to do. Because even if you don't necessarily have all of the life knowledge to tell them what to do in their specific scenario, it's this feeling of you can put yourself in their shoes and you know the right thing to say regardless. You could have been told that you were wise beyond your years growing up. You have that vibe about you, almost of being this spiritual counselor or teacher of sorts. So for example, even if you are literally like 20 years old and you've never been married, or maybe you've never even had a serious relationship, you could get someone who's like 50 telling you all about their marriage issues and asking for advice on their upcoming divorce, because you just seem like somebody who gets it, even in situations where you haven't physically been through it. It's as though people open up to you, they vent to you, and they can't resist doing that because they're saying to you, I just know that you know what I'm talking about. It's this unspoken feeling. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys kind of got parentified in some way when you were younger. Maybe you had adults approaching you about adult topics when you were a child, like discussing, I guess, age inappropriate things with you. I don't know if it's due to this overarching energy of kind of world weariness that you have, but you just give off the vibe of someone who has been through adversity. And I do not mean that in any kind of insulting way at all. I'm not saying that you come across as someone who is like, woe is me, making yourself a victim. It's not that. It's actually kind of the opposite. It's more that you have a quiet strength and resilience about you. And it's clear because of how empathetic you are and how in touch you are with the emotions of others. That might make people come to the conclusion that you've dealt with some hardship yourself because of how kindly and empathetically and compassionately you approach other people who are having issues. So yeah, people just can't resist opening up to you and sharing with you because they're like, you know what it feels like to experience deep loneliness, deep grief, but also deep bliss, deep euphoria, all of the many facets of human emotions. It seems evident by your vibe that you experience these things in a very profound way. I want to say that you could be irresistible to other loners. So maybe you do identify to some degree as being a loner, but I do get the sense it's because you enjoy being alone. I think you are someone who has this mentality of like, it's better to be alone than in poor company. And I think that contentment with your own independence and solitude is seductive to many people. I don't know why I'm getting this message, but I'm hearing that you're irresistible because You know how to blend in when you need to, but you're not one of them. And I'm hearing that you stand alone. So if you've ever identified as being the kind of person who can at times feel completely alone, even in a crowded room, because you feel as though conversation around you is superficial or people aren't able to view the world the same way you do, if you feel alienated in some way, I think this is saying that you are irresistible for those people who see you, like the real you, because they might sense that and they might feel a similar kind of way. I'm also hearing sometimes it's possible for you to escape detection, but there's always this underlying feeling of there's more to this. Again, I keep hearing there's more to this. And I don't know why, but I'm thinking of the tattoo that Jack has in Lost. They explain it in one of the episodes. It says something like he walks among us, but he is not one of us. So it's this thing of like when you're with people, you can almost escape detection by being part of the crowd, by merging with the people around you, by blending in and doing what they're doing. But there's this thing about like you can only pretend for so long. So this could kind of relate to you feeling as though you have to mask in certain social settings. It could relate back to what we said about you needing a lot of time by yourself. Maybe being around others can be draining because you just feel so much all the time. And even if you can adapt and pretend to play the social game for a while, there's always this underlying element with you of where you're like, I just feel like an alien, or I just still feel like I don't quite belong. And I think this makes you irresistible to others who have always had those similar feelings of like, I am part of this, but somehow I also feel dissociated or alienated or outcast, or I feel like I'm alone even when I'm with other people. I'm hearing specifically, and this might just be a message for one person, but somebody has had a dream like this recently. And in this dream, I'm kind of seeing it from your perspective, if this is you, but it's like you're on a bench and there is somebody next to you. You can't quite make out who it is, but the two of you are looking on at this group in front of you having fun. And this group, even if they are not a group that you associate with in real life, in the dream you recognize this group as like a circle you are part of. So it could be your family or friendship circle or people you work with. It's people that you know and love, like you are aware of that in the dream and you are just watching them and you're like, I'm going to go and join them. And this person next to you is saying, but you're not like them, are you? But they're saying that you chose it or something like that. So I don't know who this person next to you is. This could be a past relative, this could be a spirit guide who has been appearing in your dreams, this could be just an aspect of you, like another aspect of your subconscious that is trying to tell you something. But that is just a message for somebody. If you have had a dream like that, kind of similar to that, but even if it's not that, you know, what I'm saying here, this isn't me trying to put you down and say like, oh, you don't fit in, you're not one of them. It's just more this feeling of kind of like you being a reluctant leader is what I'm trying to say. Because maybe when you're carrying the heaviness of the world on your shoulders, all you want to do is just join in with the crowd and not really be seen and not have your own individualistic, important mission. But it feels like even when you have adapted so well to fitting in, there's always this part of you that does stand out even when you don't want to, or there's this part of you that just does naturally carry more depth, and people can sense this and they're deeply, deeply affected by it in some way. There are people who see this and get it and they find it irresistible, and it wouldn't surprise me if you attracted the loners or the black sheep or the strays or the underdogs because they sense their own energy within you. And so if we refer back to that dream scenario and that person or that entity saying to you, you're not one of them, it's not in the way like you should be ostracized, and it's not saying you are not one of them as in they are bad. It's just saying even if you are part of a community and you love that community, fundamentally you were also given the strength to stand alone with something, and this is something you chose for a reason. So I don't know, this could be a message pulling you to connect with more of your soul tribe, because maybe this weariness or sense of depletion that you have been feeling could very well be to do with you sometimes surrounding yourself with the wrong people and places at times. And that's not me saying like to cut off all your current friends or family or do something dramatic or like quit your job or something. It's just to be mindful of environments that drain you more than they replenish you, because I think this is saying you can try to be like them, but you will never be like them because you were not meant to be. Because you could find yourself, you know, in certain spaces, like we said, having to mask or having to put on a persona, and that could be one of the things that leaves you feeling exhausted, as does maybe being around certain humans who underestimate you, or they utilize some of your talents in the wrong kind of ways because they are not seeing through the exterior. And I don't want this to sound like, oh, pal 3, you're not like the other girls or not like the other guys, but your energy is truly something very precious and special and unique. And I just want you to know that, but also to realise that sometimes it isn't always being appreciated, and to also be aware of that. And I'm saying that because for some of you, it can't be appreciated because you're not allowing people to fully see what you're capable of. Maybe you only allow people to see the exterior and you allow them to underestimate you because you won't show them that there's more, even if they can sense that there is. You know, even if there's this irresistible pull luring them towards the depth of you, it's like sometimes you won't really let them go that deep. And some of you could have put yourself in a position where you'd rather have that mask up to avoid being hurt, and people have been okay with that because maybe they've benefited from not seeing you clearly. Because maybe if they did see you clearly and in your full power, it might be intimidating for them, or it would somehow threaten what they get out of you. But people generally do have this awareness that there is more with you, and your mask doesn't always cover as much as you think it does. Not everyone sees you how they should do, and certainly not many people can read you, but there is definitely that element of like, they know it goes way deeper than what you let on. And that's seductive, but it's also kind of dangerous. It makes people feel like they could come and explore the depth, but they have to be careful or they might drown in the intensity of it all. And the people who get it, because they go through that too, sense this within you immediately. And there's this recognition of like, I see you, I get it. And it makes those people, those other loners or those black sheep, flock to you even more because they're like, you're me. I'm seeing the Spider-Man meme right now. I don't know why, but maybe that's relevant for some of you. It's kind of this vibe of like, you always know when other people are masking because sometimes you're masking too. But it also can work the other way around for people who are on that similar wavelength of depth to you. Let's have a look at your next 3 cards, pile 3. We have got the King of Wands. We've got the Queen of Swords. And we have got the Knight of Swords. Oh my god, yes, pile 3. Something irresistible about you is you have such a presence and such leadership energy about you, and you don't even know it, okay? You don't even know it. And part of why you don't know it is because, again, similar to what we said when we looked at your last few cards, you are this very reluctant leader. You never nominated yourself for the role, you never applied, but people view you as competent and they will come to you and ask for your opinions because they view you as the main character, even if that's not the role you wanted. Like, even if you would prefer to blend in or be behind the scenes, it's somehow just not possible for you. It's like people select you. I think a part of why you're so seductive is because people know you have this incredible gift of discernment and you do view things from sometimes a skeptical lens, but also a very realistic lens. And they know that you're not someone who is on some crazy power trip or after the status or the glory, trying to feed your ego. And that's why they feel like they can trust you with things. And that's why they feel as though you're capable of making the best decisions. Something irresistible about your advice is that it truly doesn't come from a place of ego. If you are going to put an idea forward, people can be sure that it has been meticulously considered down to the very last detail, because you're not going to say something that you know could be torn apart under a microscope. You're somebody who stands by your words, and if you're going to say something, it has to mean something, it has to be significant. Otherwise, what's the point? Because it's a waste of your time and energy. People know this about you. So something irresistible about you is that when you speak and you put a point forward, it's with purpose. It carries a lot of meaning. It's not just you talking for the sake of liking the sound of your own voice. It wouldn't surprise me if people found it difficult to resist putting you in positions of authority due to this gift of discernment that you possess. But the thing is, I actually don't think you feel incredibly comfortable in positions of authority. I feel like you're the kind of person who's like, well, yeah, I had a good idea, but, you know, I don't want the responsibility of managing a team or telling people what to do or making the decisions. Like, let someone else do that. So you could end up choosing not to be the person in charge, and maybe instead you accept the role of being like the right-hand man or woman of the person in charge. But you tend to find that you end up being delegated that leadership role anyway, whether or not you asked for it, because people just can't resist coming to you instead of the actual person who's meant to be in charge. It's like there's this sense of you've let them be in charge because you didn't want to do it, but actually you're the one holding the power, or you're making all the executive decisions secretly behind the scenes, because everyone knows that you're the one with natural leadership abilities, even if you don't know it or even if you don't identify that way. And it's like that other person who wanted the title of leader. It's just as though they're playing pretend, or they want the confidence boost or the power trip, but they don't genuinely have the knowledge to be a great leader. And I think this role of a leader is irresistibly drawn to you more because you don't want it, because you shun it, because you're like, hey, don't ask me. But at the same time, if people are in trouble, you do step up and you do know what to do. And then suddenly everyone wants to make you the group leader. They want to nominate you for these roles. And you're kind of like, why me? I don't want to sound dramatic, but in some instances, it's almost like people see you as this messiah, and it's like, what would Pal 3 do? And a part of why they can't resist asking that is because they know how observant you are, and they know that all along, you've been noticing everything that's going on, but you've not been saying anything. You've not been trying to give an unwarranted opinion. You've just been sitting pretty and minding your own business. But you are like 10 steps ahead of everybody else. So when someone asks you, what do you think we should do about XYZ? Because, you're here, you've been seeing what's going on. You're like, okay, well, if I had to decide what to do, it would be XYZ based on X information that I've learned over a period of X many weeks. It's all about these carefully cultivated, documented facts that add to this bigger truth. And this allows you to give these really measured, well thought out responses. But it's almost like at the end of you speaking that truth, you sort of shrug and you're like, well, that's just my opinion, take it with a pinch of salt. And everyone is awestruck. They're like, no, but that's actually genius. Like, why didn't we think of that? See, Pal 3 always comes up with the best ideas. They should be in charge of this project. And you're like, no, I don't want to be in charge of the project. It was just one good idea. You definitely give this vibe, though, of being the one who is in control behind the scenes. And the way you do this is alluring to people because you don't come across as someone who is like domineering or someone who actively seeks that out. It's just as though you naturally possess it because you listen carefully and because you think before you speak. Maybe being around talkative people has led you to now listen more than you talk, and your power is realizing how much you can find out when you do that. It's like you give off this aura of having all of this insider knowledge, and there's something seductive about this air of knowing that you have. There could also be something highly seductive about the way you speak, and I think this is in the way that you speak with purpose. Like, when you speak, people will listen because they know that you have something to say, and when you say it, it's to the point, it's concise, it's accurate. I think this idea that you're incredibly self-reliant and you'd rather be by yourself than with the wrong company is irresistible to people because it's clear that you are not dependent on anyone else to determine your self-worth, and people are naturally drawn to you because you don't seem like somebody who needs anybody. You seem like somebody who is capable of loving deeply, but ultimately you are very self-sufficient. And I think a lot of people are very drawn to you due to that sense of independence and also the inherent wisdom that you naturally seem to possess. It's funny as well that I mentioned Jack from Lost. Not that you're exactly like him, but he is that archetype of the leader because he naturally possesses a certain skill set, with him being a surgeon, I think. He's used to dealing with high pressure situations and things like that. But at some points in the show, it becomes almost comical how much the group always nominate him for everything. And I remember when I was last rewatching it, I said to my partner, like, why does Jack always have to do everything? And I said it's weird because they're always trying to send him off on these dangerous missions, but surely they'd want him to stay back sometimes because he's the only doctor on the island, so they want to like make sure that he stays alive and he's safe. But the thing is, that's just how it is because he's the main character and you're, as I said, not like him, but there is this element of you saying like, why me? Like, choose someone else. I'm not your savior. And I'm sorry, but you are irresistible because you're it, babe. Like, you're the one with the skill set required. They are coming to you for a reason, and it's because you are the best and most competent for the job. So I'm sorry if you don't want to hear that, but that's what I'm getting. But let's have a look at your last few cards at pile 3. So we have got lunar eclipse. We have got strength. And we've got the 8 of swords. Okay, so some of these lunar cards are exclusive to this deck, and here we got lunar eclipse, which is interesting because we also got the moon earlier, so a lot of moon energy coming through. And just circling back to what we said in the beginning, you do have that aura of mystery, of something disguised as something else, of wearing a mask, and only a select few can really sense what's going on beneath the surface. There is definitely something about illusion and trickery and allowing people to believe you're something you're not, but there's just more to it. This is definitely giving me like Pisces rising or Gemini rising, or maybe Neptune energy, like Neptune in the 1st house or 7th house or 12th house even. It's something very mutable, or it's something about people wanting to kind of make you the muse when actually you're the artist or something along those lines. And there's something irresistible about the fact that you can put on so many different faces, but nobody ever gets to see the whole truth because it's tied up beneath so many layers of personhood. We did have a lunar eclipse in March, I believe. I'm going to check the dates for that. Yeah, so it says in 2025 there will be 2 total lunar eclipses, one on March 13th to 14th and another on September 7th to 8th. So maybe those dates are significant for you. I also keep hearing the phrase blood red moon or blood red sky, and I'm seeing bright red eyes specifically, almost vampire kind of eyes. There's this flash of red and then they suddenly go back to a normal colour. Some of you could have worn a costume like that before with contacts. I'm also seeing a red corset, and I have no idea why, but the song that's coming into my head when I said blood red sky, sorry, I'm getting a lot of images now, but it's the song that Scar sings in The Lion King. I think it's called Be Prepared or something, so that might be relevant for somebody. Maybe you need to be prepared for a new opportunity or something, because this opportunity can't resist you. Maybe it's a leadership thing, I don't know, something that we talked about in the last few cards could play a part here. I don't know why I'm getting that song, but yeah, I keep getting something about vampires too. Maybe someone is reading a book or watching a show involving vampires or some kind of mythical creature right now, and that is an extra confirmation. But it could just be that a part of your irresistibility is that you give this vibe almost of like you're an old soul or you've been around for centuries, you've seen it all, even if your body is physically young. Like, you know how in vampire shows or films, the vampire just always happens to be existing in like a 25-year-old's body, but really they are hundreds or thousands of years old. Your soul could kind of identify with that, and that's why sometimes you feel this heaviness or you feel this exhaustion, but it's actually enticing for many people because they want to know how you know the things you know, or they wonder how you can know so much without being told. Because a lot of it is based on this kind of psychic sixth sense that you have. I don't know whether it's psychicness or just women's intuition if you are a woman, but it's as though you have this thing where you can just look at people and you just know things that you shouldn't be able to know. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like because you're so observant and clued on and you don't miss a trick, somebody could make a comment that seems totally inconsequential to somebody else, but for you, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Like for you, everything starts to fall into place, and it's things that really you shouldn't be able to link up or make a pattern out of, but you do, and you're always completely bang on in your assessments. It could be over something completely random though, like somebody says, oh, I love this particular music artist, and you're like, oh, are your parents divorced too? And everyone is like, what? Where did that come from? How would you possibly know that? And maybe you're like, well, I love that person's music too, and a lot of their lyrics are about their home life, so I just put 2 and 2 together, but nobody else had thought of it like that. There's something alluring about how you can kind of unpick the ties that bind people. That's something that I'm getting, but people just can't seem to unravel you in quite the same way. And going back to that thing about people not being able to resist opening up to you, again, there's this element of like, they feel as though you can just see right through them, or you just know things and there's no point hiding it. I was recently watching The Residence on Netflix. I haven't finished it yet, by the way, and I will not be giving any spoilers here, but if you've seen it, it reminds me of how the detective in that will just sit and stare at people in silence until they end up just word vomiting, essentially. You give me that kind of vibe, like people can't help but just spill their soul because they are powerless and helpless under your gaze. And there's something irresistible about you knowing how to tame people through gentleness. It's like you don't have to beg or entice people to tell you anything, they just naturally want to because they feel the depth of your compassion without you having to even do or say anything. So you're very mysterious, very alluring, very mystical. You might spend a lot of time in the shadows, but people definitely see your light, pile 3. So that is what I'm getting for your reading today. I really, really hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did like the reading, please give this video a like, please comment, let me know what resonated, or just let me know which pile you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please sub if you haven't done so already. All of that just helps me and this channel so much, and on a personal level, I just really enjoy hearing from you guys, and I love when you leave me comments, being so kind and being so lovely. I do genuinely appreciate it so much, and I just want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening and taking time out of your day to listen to me ramble. Thank you for being here, thank you for listening, take care, and I will see you in the next one, pile 3. Hi Powerful Collective, if you chose the Final Rose Tarot and the butterfly sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference. But today we are asking, what makes you so irresistible and seductive? So why do people find you hot, smexy, alluring, charming? What draws them in? Why are they into you? Why do they want to come closer and get a piece of what you've got? So this is kind of what people find attractive about you, but it could also be aspects of you that they wish they had for themselves. This is going to be all about your standout features, the things that really pull people in and leave them wanting more. So we are going to go right ahead and jump into your tarot. Usual disclaimer that this is a collective reading and not everything will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. If you find that at any point this reading is becoming more harmful to you than it is helpful, or you are just not into it, please feel free to disengage. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's okay. I am not holding you hostage here. It is a free reading on the internet. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at the first 3 cards that we pulled for you, pal 4. I'm just going to pop your butterfly sticker here. I'm going to move your tarot here. Okay, so starting off, we have got the limo, which is the Chariot. We have got the Bachelorette, which is the Empress. And we have got the Queen of Swords, the Bitch. Okay, pal 4, so as I have done with all of the pals so far, I want to start off by mentioning the sticker you chose. So you selected this very pretty butterfly sticker, and when I think of butterflies, I immediately think of transformation. So this doesn't have to be the case for this to be your pile, but it would make sense if some of you who have selected this pile have been through some kind of transformation or transitional period recently in your life. I wouldn't be surprised if for many of you this was some kind of visible physical transformation that's a result of something you have been heavily committing to over the past few months. Because I'm getting this sense of like whatever it is you've been doing and dedicating yourself to, it is really starting to show, and it's one of the things that is adding to your irresistibility factor right now. So this could be some kind of physical fitness routine, a change you've made to your diet, or a skin or hair care routine, you changing your lifestyle in a way that really works for you. It could be changing your actual sense of style and wearing things that really complement your body, something like that. Maybe this was to do with a New Year's resolution that you started adhering to back in January, and at first perhaps you weren't seeing that visible or tangible progress, but maybe you stuck to it, you endured, and now it's like you are really starting to see those results. And maybe people haven't been able to resist asking you like, hey, you've had this noticeable glow up, you know, what are your secrets? What's your routine? But it doesn't have to be physical like that. It could be internal. And for some of you, it's both. But there is definitely this overarching message here about you having turned your life around in some significant way. So even if you had some kind of New Year's resolution, such as I'm gonna stop drinking as much, or I'm going to quit smoking, maybe something like that would have the potential to impact both the internal and the external, because it doesn't have to be this specific example for you, by the way, but just to illustrate my point, let's say someone is addicted to smoking. If they decide to quit and they decide to see that through, it might be noticeable that that person's skin or teeth start to look healthier, or they don't smell like cigarettes anymore, and those are the very physical, tangible things. But internally, it might also give that person more of this aura of confidence because they've developed that self-trust by sticking to something that they said they'd stick to. Or maybe for some individuals, they decide to swap a less healthy outlet for a healthier outlet, and maybe they throw their energy into that. But it's like whatever you have been doing, maybe people can't resist asking for your tips and tricks because it's clear that it's really working, or it's clear you're doing something right. With the Queen of Swords, this is also making me think for some of you, this could be an attitude shift, like a commitment to being truthful with yourself and others, or you vowing to yourself that you will speak your truth and not try to people please or something along those lines. So in those instances, it could be people acknowledging like something about you has really changed, or you have this glow of confidence about you and they really want to know like what's gotten into you or what you're doing differently to make that happen. Other than you transforming directly, it could be that a big transformation has taken place in your life. Your life has changed in some huge way. So maybe you've recently moved house, or you're doing a different job, or you've been through a breakup, you've been through some kind of significant event, something has changed within you, around you, your environment, the people you interact with, and maybe it's like people are noticing you or finding you irresistible following this change. So if you've literally moved to a new area, or you've gone to do a new job, maybe it's people in the new locations being curious about you. if you have gone through a breakup, maybe it's people wondering like, oh, should I shoot my shot, or do I have a chance now, or something like that. There might also be a message here about you having been in your cocoon for a while, but you've come out transformed. And I'm also thinking of the phrase social butterfly, and you don't have to resonate with being a super extroverted person for that to apply. Some of you will be, but some of you will be more introverted, and that's okay too. But I do think even if you are introverted, there is some element here of like, you know how to handle social situations, even if you don't necessarily feel fully confident in those circumstances. You come across as confident to other people, and that is a seductive quality. You don't seem like somebody who doubts yourself in interactions, regardless of how much you actively enjoy socializing, I suppose. But this social butterfly thing could apply especially if for the last few months or so you haven't been out too much, or you've been spending a lot of time alone, you've not been making many plans, or not posting much on social media if you have it. And then maybe if recently you've decided to go and meet your friends, you've decided to rejoin the world again, or start going to a class, or showing up differently, or even if you posted a new picture or something along those lines, it's like it's got you on people's radars again, and they almost can't resist trying to figure out what you're up to. I'm hearing like you step back into the light again, or it's something about you coming across as though you're having fun again. And I think that can be a natural thing to happen, especially around this time of year. I know for me personally, I tend to make way less plans in winter than I do in summer, other than Christmas and things like that. Like for me, at least, spring and summer tends to be the time where I just naturally want to get out and see people more. And I have the energy to like put on makeup and dress up and stuff because I'm not as vitamin D deficient as I am throughout winter. So if you're kind of a similar way, this coming out of your shell or coming out of your hermit mode kind of vibe would make a lot of sense for the season we are in if you are watching it when I'm uploading, but you absolutely don't have to be. You know, the reading is timeless regardless. But whether or not you identify as an extrovert or an introvert who can occasionally be more extroverted, or an ambivert, if you can flip between the two energies even, it feels like there's this sense, regardless of which end of the spectrum you fall on there, there's this element of you becoming more chatty that is irresistible to people currently. So one example, like if you have recently joined a new workplace or something like that, if at first you were a little bit more reserved, maybe now if you're opening up more to colleagues or starting to have more banter and fun with them, it's like the more you open up and talk to people, the more irresistible you are to people. And some of you, I've had this in a few of my readings, and this does not have to apply, but if you know that you struggle with a little bit of resting bitch face, or sometimes looking meaner than you actually are, or looking like unapproachable or intimidating sometimes, there could be some element of people saying to you like, oh, I thought you were going to be a bitch at first, or I found you super intimidating when I first met you, but since I've got to know you, I realised that you're so kind, so nurturing, so funny, and just a really cool and honest person. So there's something about like the more people get to know you, the more you come out of your shell in front of them, the more irresistible you are to them. But I think some of you have this energy where people maybe don't quite know how to take you at first. This might not be for everyone, but it could be something to do with your tone or the sense of humour that you have specifically. Particularly if you're a woman, I think this can apply, and you absolutely don't have to be. But sometimes, you know, due to things such as misogyny, especially if you are a conventionally attractive woman, people sometimes refuse to acknowledge that women can be both beautiful and funny. Or, you know, if a woman is assertive, they might say she's a bitch, even if they would never say the same thing about a man who was speaking in a similar tone. And to be very clear, this can also be internalized misogyny from other women. This doesn't have to be men passing judgment. But it's like if you make a sarcastic joke or you say something that's intended to be satirical or exaggerated, maybe when people first meet you, they don't get that you're trying to fool around, and they're like, oh, what Powerful said was so bitchy. But then other people who know you might kind of step in and say, oh, they were just playing, like they don't actually think that, they were clearly joking. And again, that message won't be for everyone, but it's like once people understand your style of humour and you start to show your funny side to people, or you get a little bit goofy, it's like people find you more seductive and irresistible. This exact example won't apply to you, but if I were to try and give an example of what I mean, it could be like, let's say you and your work friend are having a conversation and you say, oh, my car's having its MOT today, could I get a lift home? Your friend might say to you, oh, sorry, I can't, I'm going straight to this appointment after work. You could say something back, messing around, like, oh, how dare you not cancel your appointment to take me home? Don't you know that your life should revolve around me? And maybe another colleague who doesn't know you that well overhears that and is like, I can't believe Powerful said that, what a brat. And your friend has to kind of explain, like, they weren't being serious, you know, we say stuff like that to each other all the time. Again, it won't be that example, but it's just that thing of like, maybe You kind of joke about having that bratty, I'm a princess, you better worship me kind of energy. Some of you could have actually been listening to the Brat album a lot this past summer, actually. You could also have that kind of energy where you and your friends often playfully roast each other, and there's something about your comeback specifically that makes you even more seductive. I think certain people kind of like it when you tease them or pick on them a little bit. This could be your love language or your way of flirting. Like, if you are winding somebody up, it's because you like them or because you care about them. Otherwise, you might kind of treat them with indifference. It's kind of like if you're toying with them or insulting them a little bit, not in a serious way, but if you're doing that kind of thing playfully, that's how they know that you like them. Because maybe you only do that with people you like or people you're comfortable with. There's something about your intelligence and your quick-wittedness that people find really irresistible. I wouldn't be surprised if you were the type of person who could just make a funny song up on the spot, like you could just freestyle something. I'm also imagining you changing the lyrics of songs to make them funny, but it's like you come up with this stuff really fast and you have everyone around you laughing, and it makes you more seductive how quick you are and how fast you can deliver these comebacks. This is also making me think there's something seductive about the way you can just put people in their place. Like, when you need to be assertive, you will be. And I also feel like the people who you care about, it's very clear you're protective over them, and there's something irresistible about the way you'll be willing to stand up for people and not let anyone say a bad word about the people who you love. There's definitely something seductive about the way you're not trying to stroke anybody's ego to get them to like you. I know this is a random example, but to put it bluntly, if you were having a fun physical time with somebody and you were not satisfied, you're not going to fake that you're satisfied. You're going to be honest about what's working for you and not working, and you are going to give that person direction if they need it. And I think that's something that people find irresistible because it's refreshing that they kind of know where they stand with you. Another example could be like, if someone invites you out and you don't want to go, I can't imagine you being the kind of person who is trying to think of like 1,000 excuses as to why you can't go. Maybe you used to be like that, but it feels like you're not now, because I can imagine you just saying like no. And if someone's like, why? I can imagine you kind of laughing, but just kind of being serious at the same time and saying like, I don't want to. And you're not being mean, you are just being honest, or saying like, you know, I'd truly rather stay home by myself tonight. And a lot of people are attracted to that more direct, more forthright energy that you have. I think sometimes, honestly, people can be a little bit terrified of you because of how honest you can be, but at the same time, they do find it irresistible. You sometimes give this energy kind of like, I will step on your neck in my stilettos and you will feel grateful for it. I think there's something seductive about the way you boss people around or you ask for what you want. There's something irresistible about the way you don't stand on the sidelines waiting around for opportunities to come to you. Like, you are good at just going for things and making things happen, and if there's something you've set your sights on, you are kind of adamant about going after it, and people find your sense of determination to be a really seductive quality. There's definitely something about people admiring your willpower or how hard you work or how self-disciplined you are. There's something irresistible about the way you commit to things and you power through to make whatever you want to happen. When you are focused on something, you have this like, I have to have it mentality where absolutely nothing is going to get in your way, and there's something very enticing about that level of confidence in terms of you just saying like, what's mine is mine and nothing is stopping me. There's something irresistible about how ambitious you are and the fact you are determined to get the very best for yourself. And when I say ambitious, this doesn't have to mean that you have to be someone who prioritizes their career. It does not have to be work or finance related even. It can be, but it's just more so like whatever you set your mind to, you know that you're capable of achieving. And there's something irresistible about that level of mastery and control. There's something irresistible about the way it always seems like your ducks are in a row or people can't catch you slipping up. You're always the one maintaining the control in some type of way. There's something seductive about the way that just nothing phases you, and on your path to success, you're not going to be caught off guard by distractions. I'm also getting something about part of your seduction style having something to do with competitiveness. I'm hearing the phrase fighting talk specifically, so it could just be like the type of banter you have with a romantic partner, or there's something about you wanting to get the last word in. I'm definitely not reading it as competitive in a toxic or super serious way. It's more like you playing a game with your partner and making bets over who is going to win. Or like even something as simple as being on your team at the pub quiz, you make that an irresistible opportunity because you're that person who makes it high stakes. Or you're like, we are going to win this, we are going to beat those losers, and you make it this fun and friendly and slightly feisty competition, like, oh, whoever loses has to buy the drinks or whatever. It doesn't have to be that example, but it's that vibe of like, you make it this fun and healthy competition. I feel like there's something irresistible about the way you are not willing to delude yourself. I think that one of your most seductive qualities is the fact you're able to take accountability and actually be honest with yourself. And if you've done something you shouldn't have done, you will admit to it. And also there's something irresistible about the way you flock to opportunities that are nurturing to you. You go where the ground is most fertile. You don't waste time falling in love with potential or letting things that aren't going to benefit you in the long run hold you back. There's something irresistible about the harmony of your face or body or both. Maybe it's that your features are really balanced, or whatever kind of body type that you have, you wear things that are harmonious, or maybe you have a really beautiful waist to hip ratio or something along those lines. Everything just balances out perfectly and you exude this sensuality. You definitely give the aura of somebody who is very in touch with their body and their desires and who isn't ashamed of being a smexual being, if that applies. You could be very creatively minded as well as logically minded, and it's like you have this beautiful balance of both energies that makes you even more seductive. I also think there's something about fertility being highlighted here, and please bear in mind this does not have to be literal, but it could be this thing of people see opportunities to grow with you, and I think it's because you have this energy where you know what you want and you go after it, and you embody the energy of being this winner who gets what they want. So you're like, hey, come with me, be on my team because we're gonna win. That's the vibe that you give out to people, and so that makes people gravitate towards you because they know they're gonna be successful if they're alongside you. They're like, I'm gonna grow with Pal 4. There is something where you have this very soft and nurturing and feminine side, but at the same time, you have this kind of like, take no shit, do what it takes attitude. And that combination is really seductive and irresistible to people. I'm hearing that it makes you the full package, or it makes you this double threat. So let's have a look at your next few cards, Pal 4. We have got the King of Swords, the intellectual. We've got the Two of Cups, cheers. And we have got the Eight of Cups, self-elimination. Okay, so you're irresistible, Pal 4, because of your level of self-respect and because of the fact that you are only willing to go where your energy is reciprocated. I personally love how each different tarot deck lends itself to interpreting the cards in a very different way, because the Eight of Cups is about walking away, and I never necessarily think that is a bad thing, but on some of the Eight of Cups cards, the person walking away sometimes looks a little bit lonely or looks a little bit sad. But for your energy specifically, I'm more getting this sense of it being this empowering thing, because you do not allow yourself to be eliminated. You actively remove yourself from the running when you are in a situation that isn't serving you. You take control of the narrative. You're like, you're not voting me out, I'm voting myself out. You're saying, you know, my bags are packed, bon voyage, you won't be hearing from me again when you're done with something. And that enables you to take control of how you want your life to go. And there's something irresistible about the fact that you aren't willing to stay where you're not wanted, you're not willing to abandon yourself, and you're not willing to settle for less than you deserve. And there's something seductive about the way you know how to get along with people and have fun with them. Like, you're always going to offer mutual respect and kindness, but the moment that somebody does something to disrespect you, you are very much going to go with your head over your heart. And if you need to say, I'm out, then you will without a second thought. So it could be that you actually become even more seductive to those individuals who you've had to leave behind in order to go on to bigger and better things. You've become especially irresistible to those who haven't been able to exert control over you because you've removed yourself from their field of vision. You're not allowing them access to you. And I think this thing about you using your head over your heart, it goes back to what we said about you being that person who does not allow yourself to be deluded, because you look at things realistically, and that makes you even more attractive to people. Basically, it makes you raw, it makes you real. You don't filter things and give the nice version just to make people think more highly of you. And people are captivated by that level of authenticity. This specific example doesn't have to apply, but I'm thinking of, like, you know, when people have an argument, it's always said that there is person A's side, person B's side, and the truth. And I think often that's because naturally people have different perspectives, and so the truth is very likely to be somewhere in the middle. But also, when people are telling their version of events, sometimes they will leave out the important parts that place them in a bad light because they don't want the people they are saying this to think that they were the problem or they were the instigator. So if someone is like, oh, Sandra called me a bitch, and someone else asks them like, oh, why did she say that? Did you say anything to her to make her say that? That person might be like, no, I literally didn't say anything. She just went off on me and just called me a bitch for no reason. But you, on the other hand, if you say like, Sandra called me a bitch, and you know that you did something to instigate it, if someone said to you, like, okay, did you say anything to her to make her say that? You're like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I stole her sandwich and I ate it in front of her, so I'm not surprised she called me a bitch. Not that you do that, and it's not that exact example, but what I mean is like, you don't go off and play victim for something you've done. You are honest about the part you have to play in things, and people find that really refreshing. I also feel like you're someone who people can't resist trying to find a way to impress, because I think you are going to tell someone if you are disappointed in them. You're not going to hold back to spare their feelings. And so it becomes irresistible, I guess, like trying to win your affections or trying to get praise off you. Because if you are praising someone, it's because you genuinely mean it. Like, you're not just blowing smoke up someone's ass for no reason. I also feel like you're irresistible because you're someone who gives off this aura, kind of like, I will only accept the very best. You give out this energy of like, if I am giving to someone or something, I expect them to be on my level. I expect it to be an equal exchange. And I think a part of why you're seductive is you're not going to sit around and allow people to treat you badly. And this could apply, especially if you have had to leave some kind of difficult situation recently in terms of a relationship or anything like that. It's very clear that you are not waiting around to see whether someone who has been prioritizing themselves will finally choose you. You're going to get out of there and go and find something better because you're not going to continue wasting your resources on a situation that's not serving you. Like, you know that you have to look after you, and a part of that self-care is cutting off the dead weight in terms of situations that just aren't good for you. You understand that better than anyone, so you're not going to wait around and invest in potential. You are going to get up and go after the dream life you want to create for yourself. This is also making me think sometimes that people can't resist getting the last word in with you for some reason, and it doesn't have to be this example for you, but it's making me think like you have probably faced situations where people can sense your innate confidence and your belief in your own worth, and because they might not possess that same self-belief, it's like they have mistakenly interpreted this as arrogance or cockiness, or you expecting too much, and it's almost as though they haven't been able to resist trying to knock you down a peg or trying to shake your confidence. So it wouldn't actually surprise me if you have had dates in the past where people have tried to neg you to see what you will tolerate, but you just don't tolerate it. It's so funny. So you take control of the narrative entirely, but because certain people want to act like they're in control, it's as though they can't resist trying to make it seem as though they are the one rejecting you, even if it's actually the other way around. So this is making me think as just one example. Let's say you have a first date with somebody. If this person says to you something like, oh, I don't usually date chubby girls, but you're really attractive for a chubby girl, so I made an exception. Not that exact example, but something that's done with like the purpose of trying to knock your confidence. They're not going to get a rise out of you, but you are going to say like, you know what, I don't think this is going anywhere. Thank you for your time, but I'm not interested. And then I can imagine that person trying to fight you to get the last word, like bombarding you with texts or being like, well, I was going to reject you anyway, but I felt sorry for you, or something like that. And it's not true. But they do this because they lack the security that you have in abundance. So it's like they try and bite back to sort of knock you down, but it doesn't work. Nothing catches you off guard like that. That could have been something that's happened to you just because you tend to be honest with people about your expectations. It's like they can't resist saying their piece even if you never asked for their opinion. So let's have a look at your next few cards, pile 4. We have got the Star, which is the cocktail party on this deck. We have got the Queen of Pentacles, the single mom. And we have got the Two of Pentacles, final 2. So with us getting the single mom card, which is the Queen of Pentacles, some of you could be single mums or dads, single parents, or just parents in general. Of course, this does not have to apply. It's just giving you that extra confirmation if it does. But regardless of whether you have kids or not, you definitely have that energy of like a strict but nurturing parent. Like, part of why you're irresistible is because it's clear you really look after those you care about and you want the very best for them. And a part of that is being firm and honest with the people in your life and having good boundaries. Same as parents have to have certain boundaries with their children. Like, no, you cannot have an entire bag of sweets before you have your dinner because you're not going to be nourished by that. You know, and even if you're not a parent, it would not surprise me if you had a very maternal or paternal vibe about you to some degree. Like, a part of your seductive quality is that you put out this energy of just being able to give people what they need. And also something about your vibe tells them, like, this person could look after me, this person could take care of me. And a part of it could be that you are assertive, like that makes you attractive, that you are comfortable making the decisions or being like, all right, we're going to do this, you're comfortable taking charge. That is appealing to people, especially to people who perhaps struggle with taking the lead or struggle with being a little bit indecisive. It's kind of like those people find you irresistible because they like it when you're the boss of them and you tell them what's going on or what to do. Or it could just be that people see you looking after those that you care about and they find that in itself very attractive. So one example could be you being the sober friend on a night out, the person who takes care of your drunk friends. And if you see anyone trying to take advantage of them, it's like you become this protector, or you just kind of take control of that situation and you're like, we're taking you home right now. And people find it seductive when you just take control in those moments. People find you irresistible because you're the kind of person who is just always able to be there and give people what they need in a very tangible way. I wouldn't be surprised if you were also the kind of person who carried a lot of random things in your bag with you, but it's like almost as though you consider every eventuality of what people might need. So when your friend asks, like, has anybody got XYZ, you always seem to have it covered. Maybe you're the person who always brings extra snacks for the road trip, or you always have a couple of extra painkillers with you if one of your friends is having cramps. Like, you always come through to be the mom or dad for the group. And you exude this confident energy, kind of like, I got this, it's under control, I got what you need, let me take care of you. And even if you also like to be taken care of and you like to be looked after, it's clear that you do right by the people you love. And that's probably why you expect that same energy back. Because you really do give a lot of love and care to people, and you really make the effort to nurture them and come through for them in these tangible ways. And I keep wanting to say tangible because we have a lot of pentacles here. So this is also making me think of you being irresistible because you're willing to do favors for those you care about. And it's like you make it look easy in a way. So if somebody is having a tough time, you are happy to kind of take over and be like, I got it. And having someone who's steady like that and who truly has your back is so irresistible. You could have a real acts of service kind of love language. That's what I'm getting here. Like, you definitely come through with these real ways to help people in real situations. And this isn't me saying that some love languages are superior to others, because of course they all have their place. But there are some instances when certain love languages are just more appropriate than others. So like words of affirmation, for example, can be really helpful for those who need more reassurance or those who are just feeling a bit down and they're needing some extra messages of support. But if, for example, someone is like, oh crap, I have this really important doctor's appointment later, but I can't go because my babysitter cancelled and there's no one to look after my kids. Words of affirmation, whilst nice, aren't going to be all that helpful or productive in that scenario. Like, you can say to somebody, oh, it's valid that you're stressed about that, I understand how you might feel, and that's kind of you, but it doesn't solve the problem. And it feels as though you, on the other hand, like, you're the kind of person where if you were in that scenario, you're not necessarily going to go through all the mushy-gushy, like, oh, poor you, what an awful situation you're in, but you're just going to be the one to step up and say, like, I'll babysit your kids, what time do you need me? Like, no questions asked. You step up for people when they need it. It doesn't have to be that example, but it's that kind of thing where you're just like, I'll sort it, I've got it covered. And it's this thing of like, you're not always the most outwardly sentimental, but you nurture people and you show care by giving them what they need when they need it. And it makes you irresistible to anyone who witnesses your kindness in any capacity, because it's obvious that anyone will be lucky to be on your team or have you at their side. This is also making me think that you're irresistible because you just come across as someone who has their shit together and people are drawn to that. Unfortunately, you could sometimes find that people who don't have all of their stuff together end up trying to rely on you or end up wanting you to solve their problems or kind of be their mummy or daddy. But overall, I think lots of different people find you irresistible because your energy just screams like, I know what I'm doing and I don't need anyone to do it for me. So part of your seduction style is this element of hyper independence that you possess. People are attracted to that because it's very clear that you don't need anyone else. You do it all and you're in control of everything. You're not out here playing damsel in distress, asking people to come and save you. Like, anyone who is in your life, they're not in it because you're depending on them for something. They are in it because they add something to your life and it's a mutually beneficial situation. So nobody is going to get in unless they have something good to offer. You're seductive because it's clear you don't take any shit. It's obvious you won't put up with nonsense. You're down to earth and nobody can pull the wool over your eyes. It's like you show up and you're always looking put together, you're never messy, there's never hair out of place. You always come across as very elegant and sophisticated, even when you haven't tried very hard to look a certain way. It's even in the ways you communicate. There's this certain element of control in terms of your voice and the interactions you have with people. There could be something irresistible about the way you work with nature to achieve something. So maybe it's like you have a certain body type and you wear things that emphasize your natural assets. And it's like you are not trying to make yourself look smaller or bigger, you just work with what you have. It could also be that you make or you use natural products, so things like skincare, hair care, but it's like whatever you do, it's working and it's adding to this element of groundedness. You could actually have a very Mother Earth, sensuous kind of vibes about you. There could also be something irresistible about the spaces you inhabit, maybe even your home, because there's something about you or it being very welcoming. I can imagine you being an incredibly welcoming host. I can imagine you cultivating this sanctuary that's really cozy and people might really enjoy coming to visit you at your house, because when you care about somebody, maybe it's like you always keep in their favourite snacks, or you make the best coffee, or you have just lots of plants and natural fibres in your space and you make it this really comfortable and inviting environment. You're seductive because you have a natural aura of calmness about you, and because there's something like you're not afraid to embrace a slower pace of life, or you don't stress yourself out with this sense of urgency. And I think because of that, you make people around you feel more calm or more at ease. You seem to just be able to balance things and make it somehow look effortless, and people find it inspiring. They might wonder how you manage to do it all. You know, they might wonder how you manage to show up at work looking so put together and you do a great job while still being able to take care of your home and your kids and have everything looking presentable. You seem more attractive because you come across as so capable. Wanting to be by your side is irresistible because, again, you have this aura of like, I am the winner, or I will make your life better if you're on my team, and people are really attracted to that. I definitely think you're an amazing person to have on a team because the way you inspire others is really irresistible. People can't help but feel motivated and inspired by being around you in some way. I also feel like you're a hit when it comes to cocktail parties or when it comes to work in the room. Like, you know how to make an impression, you come across as mature and sophisticated, but also you balance it out with this degree of playfulness and this soft, more nurturing vibe. You could also be irresistible because you're aging very well or something like that. And if you're not yet at a biological age where that would apply, that could just be a glimpse into your future. But there's something where people assume maybe that you're younger than you are, or maybe they think you're a witch because you have this Benjamin Button thing going on where you're just aging backwards. You are seductive because every time people encounter you, it just seems as though you get better and better. You never lose your appeal. You always have this same impact and effect on people. You know, it could be that if you're now in your 30s, you look better and take care of yourself more now than you did in your 20s, or if you're in your 50s, maybe you look better than in your 40s, something like that. You could actually be at an age where older people and younger people are both trying to flirt with you. So let's have a look at what else we pulled for you, pal 4. We have got the 4 of Pentacles, possessive. We have got the 6 of Cups, butterflies. And we have got the Page of Cups, the Daydreamer. That's so interesting that you picked the butterfly sticker, and we also got this card with the butterflies. So you definitely tend to give people butterflies. I think sometimes you make people nervous and they aren't always sure whether they're scared of you or intimidated by you or whether they like you. But more often than not, I think it's a combination of all of those things. And I know I mentioned when we looked at the last few cards that you might get different people from different age brackets finding themselves drawn to you. But for many of you, I actually think that a lot of younger people get crushes on you because there's almost this sense of like admiration tied up in it. Like, these people have respect for your experience in some way, or they kind of like having someone to help navigate them. Because I'm picturing someone saying like, yes, miss, as though they want to follow your instructions, or yes, sir, I guess. It's almost the vibe of a teenager having a crush on their teacher or something like that. And They know that it's never going to happen because the teacher wouldn't, or at least shouldn't, return those feelings, but they still kind of fantasize about it anyway. I'm thinking of the song What I Go to School For by Busted right now, and obviously it won't be that exact thing for you, but it could be something like you work with younger colleagues and they see you as some kind of authority figure, but they also kind of have a crush on you, even if they know it wouldn't happen because they don't think you return the interest or they think you're too sophisticated for them or something along those lines. And if it's not that, I think there's something about you making people feel young again or making them feel like they have a teenage crush again. I mean, when you're a teenager and you get a crush on somebody, at the time, it is the most intense thing you've ever experienced. Like, having such a huge fluctuation of hormones and feelings can make everything just feel 10 times more intense, and it can kind of make you feel like you're going crazy. So you could be irresistible to people because you give them that feeling of like wild, untamed attraction. You make them feel like, am I going crazy here? Because they get such like a primal desire towards you. And I think people spend a lot of time in their heads thinking of you, daydreaming about you, wondering how they could be romantic with you, maybe idealizing you to some degree at times. And sometimes it's like they get addicted to the fantasy of it, or they become a little bit obsessed with this idea of you. You did get that Empress in the beginning too, so it could be possible that a lot of artistic or creative kinds of people end up being attracted to you because it's like they see you as a muse in some way. They see you as this piece of living art. And maybe when you're just literally existing and living your life, you get people admiring you from afar, maybe fantasizing about you, drawing you, writing poems about you. It's like you inspire art for people, and that makes you irresistible. They can't resist making you into something tangible. It's like they're trying to encapsulate your energy on paper by writing about you or making you a character in a story they're writing, or trying to capture your beauty by painting you or something along those lines. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had asked if they could paint you, or if somebody had written you a song or poem, especially if you yourself are involved with some kind of creative field. I think you're irresistible because the older you get, the more in touch you become with your fun and youthful side. I'm hearing I'm not like a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. So if you do have kids, it could be like you keep up with their lingo, or you know all the latest songs and you use it in this funny way to kind of embarrass them. Or it could just be the case that you never lose touch with your childish side, and as you get older, you just become more and more funny and more goofy to be around. You're irresistible in the sense of like, once someone is yours, they don't want to leave. So people could become kind of possessive or protective over you at times. This could actually be a mutual thing though. Maybe you are irresistible because you have this energy of like, what's mine is mine. I don't think it's in a toxic way where you're like, oh, I'm not letting my partner go out without me, or I'm not letting my partner wear this. It's more in the sense of like, if you do have a partner, you are proud to call them yours, or you make it clear you are with them, maybe through physical affection. It's like you are sort of claiming your territory in a way, and they do the same with you. Like, if you are in a relationship, you don't pretend not to be. You would proudly show off your other half, and people find that loyalty irresistible. So let's have a look at your last few cards, pile 4. We have got the 9 of Wands, meeting parents. We have got the 3 of Pentacles, group date. And we've got the 7 of Pentacles, for all the right reasons. It's interesting to me that this card, the 9 of Wands, is about meeting parents. I mean, going back to what we said when we got that cocktail party card, there is something irresistible about the way you know how to socialize, or you know how to adapt your energy to the energy of the room. You kind of have this thing where you know how to get anybody to fall in love with you. So in terms of having a romantic partner, I feel like that partner would have zero qualms when it comes to introducing you to their family, because they know you're going to essentially win that meeting by making the best first impression. Like, you're going to end up getting the parents to love you, and even after your first meeting, the parents are going to be trying to get you married off to the partner. And that's irresistible because people know that they can bring you home to meet their family, to meet their friends, and they know you're going to be able to win those people over, and you're not going to have any problems getting along with people and making people adore you. You're not someone who your partner would have to like vet first and say like, oh, you know, when we meet my parents, could you maybe just not do this, or could you tone this down a little bit? Like, you already just know the right thing to do. And that makes you more irresistible because people know that they can rely on you. People know that you have their back. You are not going to make them look stupid or make a bad first impression and have that backfire on them. Like, you are definitely somebody who people can take home to mum or dad. Part of your seduction is that you can be a true teammate to those that you care for. They can literally take you anywhere and they know that you're going to show up and play the part. Whether it's to a cocktail party or a business meeting or meeting the parents for the first time, they essentially know that you're going to be able to seal the deal. And watching you charm everyone around you like that is the most seductive and enticing thing, because you just know how to switch effortlessly between all these different roles. Like, if you're going to meet a partner's family, for example, you could find that your partner is just kind of watching you work the room in awe and make that great first impression, and then afterwards they might actually say to you, like, I was so impressed, you were so polite, you know, my parents clearly loved you. But it's like they see that side of you, but they also know about a different side where maybe you can be goofy or you can crack dirty jokes and be very real. And it's seductive how you can do both. Like, you can be extremely demure with lots of decorum, very well-mannered, reserved, but then sometimes you can be crazy and become the life of the party. It's like whatever you're needed to be, you can be, and that's highly attractive to people who value that multifacetedness. Like, it's giving me the vibe of somebody who goes to church on Sundays wearing an ankle-length skirt and a blouse buttoned up to their neck, but then they go to the club on Saturdays wearing the leather catsuit and fishnets. Like, not that example exactly, but there's this element of you can flip between both. And you know what's appropriate depending on the environment. There could even be something about you doing a certain voice when you're introduced to new people. Maybe you do this thing where you elevate your speech a little bit, or this is like your phone voice or something. It's a voice that sounds slightly more posh maybe than your usual voice. It's like you change your vocabulary or your speech pattern or your tone, and people find that irresistible. There are a number of messages here about you persevering with something and you working hard. So going back to what we said at the very beginning, I think you're very much irresistible because you do truly understand the value of hard work and dedication. It's like you understand that good things don't always come easily, but you commit yourself to the things you want because you have this awareness that good things take time. You are irresistible because you are somebody who shows up for themselves every single day. You can stick to your routine and you are committed on your path towards success. And whatever you're doing, you are doing it very, very well, and it shows that you're making progress. So people are going to be seeing that you're getting recognised for something more and more here. So I don't know what you're doing, Powerful, but it's making me feel like you are putting something quality out here and people are going to be noticing and they're not going to be able to resist it. So maybe this is even in terms of a creative project you have on the go, or a business idea, or a product you're putting out. It's like people are very enticed by your business idea or what you're putting out there because you've been putting in the effort to make it the best it can be, and you've been taking the time to learn how to continue putting your best foot forward, and it's making you all the more irresistible. So that is what I'm getting for you, Powerful. I really, really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did enjoy the reading, please do me a massive favour. Please like the video. Please leave me a little comment. Let me know what resonated for you, or just let me know which power you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please consider subbing if you haven't done so already. That would just help me and this channel out so much, and on a personal level, I just love hearing from you guys. With all of that said, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to this reading. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and I will see you in the next one, Powerful. Hi, Pal 5 Collective. If you chose the Real Talk Tarot and the Cactus sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a full breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. I will also leave some details in the pinned comment below for your reference, but today we are asking what makes you so irresistible and seductive. So why do people find you hot, smexy, alluring, charming? What draws them in? Why are they into you? Why do they want to come closer and get a piece of what you've got? So this is kind of what people find attractive about you, but it could also be aspects of you that they wish they had for themselves. This is all about your standout features, the things that really pull people in and leave them wanting more. So we are going to go right ahead and jump into your tarot. Usual disclaimers here that this is a collective reading and not everything will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. If you are finding that at any point this reading is becoming more harmful to you than it is helpful, or you're just not into it, please feel free to disengage. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and that's okay. It's a free reading on the internet and I am not holding you hostage here. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at the first 3 cards we pulled for you, Pal 5. So I'm just going to move your cactus sticker here, and I'm going to move your cards here. So we have got the Six of Pentacles. We've got the Tower in reverse. And we have got Strength. Okay, pile 5, so as I have done with all of the piles today, I want to start this reading by talking about the sticker that you chose specifically, which is this beautiful pink cactus. Now, the first word that kept popping into my head when I was looking at this cactus is self-sufficient. And I say that because a lot of amateur plant enthusiasts, myself included, tend to gravitate towards cacti because they are notoriously easy to take care of, as in they can go like extended periods of time without having to be watered. I believe they store water in their stems. So there's definitely a message in there, and a part of that message is to do with you being the kind of person who just gets on with things, or you do a lot for people and you don't necessarily ask for a lot in return. And I feel as though your generosity makes you really stand out, and it makes you this huge source of light, and it's one of the things that makes you so irresistible and such a warm and wonderful energy to be around. But within that, I definitely feel as though you could identify as being someone who does at times struggle to ask for help. You might be prone towards this sense of hyper independence, or it's like you have this attitude where you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to bother people with this problem or ask for this favour. Like, you're someone who tends to solely rely on themselves. And I don't know why. I think it's because I'm looking at this Six of Pentacles, but literally The Giver by Chapel Roan is playing in my head right now, and specifically the lyrics about getting the job done. That reminds me of your energy in a way, and I don't necessarily mean it just in relation to physical intimacy. Of course, that can apply, and I will talk a little more about that, but there's just this overarching sense of like, you are more comfortable sometimes giving than you are receiving, or you prefer to give than to take. I feel as though something irresistible about you is that you're the kind of person who gets genuine joy out of making someone else's day. And the way that you do things out of a genuine love and desire to do them is just so attractive to people. It's attractive like the way that you don't necessarily expect anything in return. Like, you truly give because you want to, almost as though you feel happiest when you are serving others in some kind of way. There's something irresistible about the way you don't ask for anything from anyone, you just get the job done. And I just want to be very clear here, because I am very aware that this type of message could be taken in a way that I am not intending it to be taken, and I would like the opportunity to hopefully prevent any confusion. But I am not trying to say that you're attractive because you give and don't get anything in return. That's not what I'm trying to say here. It would not surprise me, though, if in the past people had tried to take advantage of your generosity and your kindness to some degree, because, of course, there are people who exist in the world always wanting to take more than they give, and no matter who you are, those people will try and take from you because they'll try and take from anyone they can get their hands on. And it can be easier for those kinds of individuals to sort of latch on to people who are more naturally generous and more naturally willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, because that person is more likely to want to assume the best in people and want to give them a chance. So that does happen, and it might very well have happened to you at some stage in your life, and that's valid. But in this reading, I am not necessarily talking about individuals who are just out for what they can get from people. Like, I'm not saying, you're hot because people like that they can get things from you. The irresistibility is just the fact that it's so obvious that you do love so hard and so deeply and you care so much, and that is based on this effort that you're willing to give, and it's based on this sense that when you're being of service to others, they can tell that you truly mean it and that you're truly passionate about it. So it's not just that you're generous or that you're giving, it's that you will give absolutely everything to people and things that are also giving back to you. It's this thing of like, if you nourish me, then I'm prepared to give you my absolute all, my full attention. I will throw everything I have into you. And that's hot. Like, that level of effort in and of itself is a form of seduction. When you love with your entire being like that, there's something about it that just feels so raw and almost animalistic and primal that it makes people really feel things intensely. It just hits differently when somebody does something because they genuinely want to do it, rather than expecting something back or expecting immediate gratification. Because then it kind of takes the joy out of an experience, or it puts pressure on the experience if you're thinking like, oh, this person only did X for me because they want Y. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about situations where one person is just continuously giving and the other person is continuously taking, and there's no sense of balance or equity in the connection. But I do often think in relationships, when there's this sense of like scorekeeping going on, like I did this for you, so you have to do this other thing for me, it just makes it very clear that it's not done from a place of genuine passion or enjoyment, and it kind of casts a shadow over the whole dynamic. Okay, so to give a tangible example that's popping into my head, if I ask someone if I can take them out to dinner, it means I'm going to take them out, I'm going to pay for them, I'm going to make sure that they get whatever they want to eat. And I'm doing that because I genuinely enjoy that person's company, I care about them, and I want to go and have a good time with them, and I want to see them enjoy themselves because it brings me joy. Now, if I were to say, let me take you out for dinner tonight because I'm expecting you to take me out for breakfast tomorrow morning, it kind of takes some of the magic out of the experience, because then it makes it very transactional. It's no longer just about the experience of having fun with somebody and just doing something nice for them because you can. It becomes something else that's kind of more corrupt. And with you, like what you give is more pure. I don't know how else to describe it other than like more pure and from the heart. Now, in that example that I gave, would it be fair if this person was asking or expecting me to take them for dinner every single night and never reciprocating? No, and I wouldn't accept that. But there's a difference between, me wanting to give things out of a genuine desire to do so, and that other person demanding that I give things based on them wanting to take advantage. And luckily, I do not keep people in my life if they lean more towards the latter. I have people in my life who want to do kind things for me because they love me, and I want to do kind things for them because I love them. But it's not like petty tit for tat, and it's not one person always benefiting, and that's the difference here. So what I'm trying to say is like people can just tell that you do things for others because you truly want to. And I think it's like you can always tell the difference. Like you can always tell when somebody is doing something out of that genuine desire versus when they're doing something to try and get something from you. And this kind of reminds me of like if you've ever seen any Reddit threads where somebody is asking for advice on how they can get their partner to be intimate with them more. Often you find that that person's partner might have pulled back from being intimate because they don't feel as though the relationship is reciprocal, or they don't feel like they're being supported in other ways. So for example, if one partner is absolutely drained all day because they're taking on more than their fair share of like the domestic labour or the financial obligations, and they're not getting time at the end of the day to themselves, they're going to be less likely to want to be intimate. So you'll see certain comments advising the person who has done the post, and those comments will say like, oh, well, like, have you tried just stepping up more, like stepping in to help this person with more of the domestic labour, or making sure that they can relax a little bit more so they'll want to be in the mood. And you'll see that the poster has said something like, oh, well, I'll offer to give them a massage an hour before I want to be intimate, or something like that. And I feel like that's just missing the point, because their partner is going to be able to tell that they're only getting a massage because that person wants something from them. So it doesn't hit the same. Like sometimes it's just nice to do things for people without expecting anything in return, without expecting something immediately back. Otherwise it just comes across as disingenuous. Like it's very attractive if somebody wants to do something nice for you because they're a good person and because they want to do something nice, not because they think you are immediately going to give them something that they want right back. And people can always tell the intentions. And talking about intimacy, another example is like, I don't know whether any of you guys have experienced this, but how quickly a physically intimate situation can become undesirable when one individual makes it transactional. Like there's something just so attractive about somebody wanting to give to you in that way because they genuinely desire doing so, than someone who is only motivated by what they can get from you. Like when you can tell someone is just passing the time, waiting for their turn, it just ruins the mood. I'm thinking of when people give you like 5 minutes of half-assed foreplay and then they're like, my turn, because that's what they were trying to get all along. It just quashes any desire that was there. And what I'm trying to say with this is there's something so irresistible about you, in the sense that you just absolutely light up when you're given the opportunity to make somebody else's day. It doesn't have to be in relation to those examples, but it's like people can tell that you give your entire self to whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't even have to be in the confines of a relationship, but it's like whatever you want to give to, you really do give it your all. You pour your heart and soul into it, and people can tell that it's because you're truly passionate. You're not waiting for somebody to turn around and give you a pat on the back and tell you what a good person you are. You just do these things because you want to, and there's something so seductive about the way that you give, being for you as much as it is for the recipient. I feel like it's empowering for you to be able to give your all to the things you love and really not hold back. It doesn't always do you good to have to hold yourself back or to be in situations where you have to pretend to care less than you actually do. You thrive and you're at your most irresistible when giving your everything to the things you love is facilitated, because that's when you glow and you shine and you just generally come across as being in your element. So part of what makes you seductive is that you do very much genuinely care and put a lot of effort into others, and you're willing to give to them, not because of what you can immediately get back, but because that is who you are, and there's something so fundamentally irresistible about who you are, because you're not going to let bad experiences with people take away from the fact that ultimately you do care deeply, you do love hard, and you want to give to the things and the people that you feel most passionate towards. There's something really enticing about the way nobody can ever take that away from you. It's something about your design and you just being made to be an absolute lover who in some ways doesn't know how to do things half-heartedly. That's something I'm getting. Like, you wouldn't know how to be nonchalant if you tried, because it's just not in your nature. When you love so fiercely and so intensely, and it's just part of your nature. And when it's directed towards the right things and the right people, that energy that you bring is absolutely irresistible. And in the past, maybe there have been occasions where you have thrown this love and it's landed in the wrong place. And I just want you to know it doesn't make you wrong for having loved in that way. It's more like you planted a seed and you might have watered it and taken care of it and done absolutely everything you could to allow it to grow. But the soil just wasn't fertile in that area, and you cannot control the soil. You can control what you do, but you cannot control whether that soil is fertile or not, and ultimately that soil has a say in whether something can grow or not. So don't feel bad if you couldn't make something grow in soil that refused to let that happen. I could absolutely see how this energy at times might have lended itself to some people-pleasing behaviour in the past, because it's like at times you've had this irresistible urge to help people or to fix them, or you've wanted to step in and change their life for them, but you might have struggled with giving so much to other people and finding solutions to their problems and being their listening ear that you forget to take care of yourself at times. And when you are in the right conditions, there is going to be mutual support, because it's about growing and blossoming and flourishing with someone at your side, rather than one person giving their all to this patch of soil that just doesn't want to cooperate. But when you're able to be in those circumstances where the soil is healthy and the seed is growing, that's when you become even more irresistible, because you really do bloom when you're throwing your all into what you love, and when you have something in your life that can also give back to you in abundance. And the thing is, Power 5, when you truly care about something, it's like you never ever give up on it. You hold on tightly, and you have this incredible strength of character where even when you're going through a dark time with something or someone, you are not just going to give in at the first hurdle or just throw in the towel. You always have a little bit more to give, and so you tend to stay very loyal, you tend to stay very committed, and you continue to remain strong in your dedication to the thing, and you often continue to give even during times when there might not be that much fight left in you. It's like you know how to persevere and how to commit when you are truly invested in something or someone, and there is something just so attractive about the way that you are like, you know, when I love something, I will never ever give up on it. And yes, at times it could have placed you in situations where maybe now that you are reflecting on it, you're like, okay, I stayed longer than I should have done. But it also means that whatever you pour your love into, whether it's projects or people, whatever it is, you are going to take that commitment seriously, and you are going to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that in your end at least you have done absolutely everything you can to keep that seed alive. And at the end of the day, there is so much empowerment in that, even if sometimes you use it as a learning lesson and you say like, next time I'm going to find the soil that's healthiest for my seed to grow. It's like you can also look back at those past situations and you can say to yourself, you know, despite what happened, I feel content with the way that I behaved in that situation because I did what I could. I remained strong, I remained loyal, I took care of my seed, and I utilised every option available before throwing in the towel. And there's a lot of strength in that, and there is something very attractive in particular about your strength of character, and in particular, I keep getting your loyalty and your dedication. I feel like once something or someone is yours, you really do have this energy of like, I will try and do everything I can to make this work, and that is really, really powerful. And I wouldn't be surprised if in friendships or in relationships, you have kind of been like this pillar of strength, because even when you are going through a hard time, you never lose that sense of compassion that you have towards others. And yes, some individuals may have tried to take advantage of that in the past, but the people who match your energy and the people who are willing to do what you do for them, when you and them get together, it is absolute magic and there is no stopping you. There's something specific coming through about when you connect with other givers, something really beautiful can flourish, even if at first it might feel uncomfortable or it might feel alien. And I say that because for people who have a tendency to want to give a lot to others, sometimes it can make us feel out of place to switch roles. And you'll know if some element of this resonates with you, even over something as simple as like gift giving, let's say. If, for example, you are somebody who absolutely loves to shower your friends and family with gifts, and there's nothing better to you than seeing a person open a gift you got them and seeing how their face lights up. If you love buying thoughtful things for people and spending a lot of time choosing a gift, but if on the other hand, when you get a gift, you immediately feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable, or you feel embarrassed to open it, or you want to say to the person who got you the gift, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, like, you shouldn't have spent so much money on this. A part of you could feel a bit unsettled when you're in those kinds of connections where people are wanting to pour into you because you're so accustomed to pouring into others or expending a great deal of your energy, almost trying to save others and uplift others while accepting little in return. It can feel a little bit strange to be able to sit back and relax and accept things from others and be the recipient. And so maybe when you were younger, perhaps you did find that you gravitated more towards people who were a little bit more detached, or maybe you were always the one loving that little bit more, or you felt like the one always making the effort while sometimes they were pulling away. It's like you had to be the one who kept the connection functioning, not just in romantic relationships, maybe even in friendships too. Like it always felt as though you were the one reaching out or trying to make plans or remembering somebody's birthday when maybe they didn't always do the same for you. And you know, you could have had those experiences of being the person where if your friend was going through a hard time, maybe you'd spend hours and hours on the phone consoling them, supporting them, giving advice, but then they never tended to ask about your problems when the shoe was on the other foot. And so perhaps you became almost comfortable with being self-sufficient and being this person who is like, I'm a pillar of strength to the people in my life, but when push comes to shove, I have to take care of myself because nobody pours in quite the same way that I pour in. That could just be something you've kind of learned to accept. And if this is something you still believe, by the way, Pal 5, I just want you to know that there are people who match your energy and really appreciate and value what you give. There are people who will not make you feel weird or bad for loving as deeply as you do. And there are people who feel that intensity of devotion that you do. There are people who are willing to offer you the same compassion that you give to others so easily. And I know a lot of you will already know that, and maybe you're fortunate enough to be in connections now where you're with someone who truly sees you and values you in that way. And if you're not, but you want that, I fully believe that as you get older and you come to terms with your generosity being a strength, whilst also being mindful of your personal boundaries, I absolutely fully believe that that will happen for you because it's impossible for it not to. Like when you put that much love and beautiful energy out into the world, it is always going to come back to you tenfold. But I do think a part of somebody seeing you will involve them realizing that they also have to make you comfortable being the receiver, because maybe that's something some of you do still struggle with. But the funny thing is about being generous in the way that you are and giving the way that you do, because you do it out of a genuine desire to do so, the thing is people find that so irresistible that it makes them want to give back to you 1,000 times over. And so some of you kind of have to get comfortable with that in some way. And this can apply to many different things, but it's like some of you guys, you go the extra mile to make someone's day or to make them smile. You do these extraordinarily kind things for people every day just because, and you don't think anything of it. Like that is just your nature. You've never known anything else. But it's like if people try to do the same for you, you might kind of shut it down. It's like maybe you are the best hi person and you're always giving people thousands of really heartfelt compliments, But if somebody gave you just one compliment, you might be like, oh my god, stop, like you're blushing, you don't want to hear it, because you feel way more comfortable in this role of always giving your love out to others than you do accepting it from others. But because of the way you are, because you do these things just because, it's like the universe wants to give back to you. It wants to give you something in return, because what you put out does so much good in the world that it's kind of like you have no choice but to accept some of the good stuff back, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you at times. So even if we give that example of someone taking someone out for dinner because they want to be bought breakfast in the morning, the recipient of that dinner is going to be like, I don't like that there was an ulterior motive here. I don't want to take this person out for breakfast now because I know that that dinner is conditional on breakfast. But if you're like, hey, I want to take you out for dinner because you deserve a treat and I'd love to spend time with you, that unassuming, not expecting anything back energy that you have actually has the effect of making people want to give back. That's going to make them like, oh my god, that's so sweet that you want to do that. And now I want to take you out for breakfast just because of your attitude and your sheer generosity. And so you do have to get comfortable with not immediately jumping to saying, no, don't spend your money on me, don't do this for me, I just want to do it for you. Because yes, you're amazing at nourishing other people and that makes you incredibly irresistible. But also the magic you can make in the world at large when someone gets to nourish you in return, the magic that you and another giver can make together when you give to each other and when you can switch up the roles occasionally, that's something that has the ability to transcend human relationships. It can change the world in this massive way. Because instead of all your energy going into the one person and you not getting much back, even if you enjoy being in service to others, that is going to deplete your energy. Whereas if you give with love, with generosity, and with intention, as you always have done, but in turn you are also willing to take from somebody who wants to do the same, you're going to get some of your energy back. And that energy can be spent on doing something that's of service to the world and to greater humanity in some way. Whether that's through personal passion projects or something you are advocating for, you can still give to others, but allow them to give to you so that everyone can continue to live in that generous spirit. There is absolutely this message that keeps being repeated about generosity, and something seductive about you is that you do not live in a lack mentality when it comes to that. You are not afraid to spread positive vibes and compliments. You are not stingy with your devotion. And that confidence that what you possess in abundance can never ever be taken away from you, no matter how much you give out, that is so irresistible to people, and it definitely makes them enjoy your energy and want to be around you. If you have something nice to say about someone, you're not going to hold back on the basis of like, what if that makes that person think they're better than me? Or what if me acknowledging something nice about someone else makes me feel not nice about myself? You know that someone else having something good doesn't take away from your intrinsic value and goodness. No matter what, you always have that in abundance. You are never going to be lacking, because by your very nature, you are just so much. You're so much love, you're so much generosity, you're so much strength. Again, nobody can ever remove that from you. And I feel like you've got to this place where you are just so aware of that, and you know that your giving nature is such an enormous strength. And I just love your energy, Power 5. I think you're a truly beautiful soul, and I would not be surprised if you were maybe a life path 6, or maybe something around your 6th house is relevant. I would also not be surprised if you had Virgo or Libra placements, or maybe Pisces, Cancer, or Gemini. That is just an extra message for somebody. But let's have a look at the next few cards that we pull for you. So we have got the 10 of Pentacles. We've got the 4 of Swords. And we've got the 8 of Wands. Okay, Power 5. So I keep hearing this phrase, and it's, you're everything I'm looking for. So you could have been told that before. And I'm also wanting to say you're a keeper. So it's like you're irresistible because people quickly realize very early on that you're a keeper. And when they find you, it's like they know that they've hit the jackpot, or they know that you're this whole package. Like, you're irresistible because people don't tend to see you as a casual thing. They see you as somebody that they could see themselves investing in. So you could have found in the past that actually, even in scenarios where you want to keep things more casual, or you don't want to rush things at least, you could find that people you're dating and things like that are very quick to try and put a label on it. So for example, maybe you're only 2 dates in and somebody's saying to you like, oh, I think it's time you met my family, or let's get married in a month. Not those examples exactly, but it's like where they want to dive in feet first. Diving in with you is irresistible because people know that you have so much to offer, and it's like they kind of want to snatch you up or take you off the market. Basically, you're irresistible because the right people know a good thing when they see it. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, for me, I've had the opposite experience, or maybe it's been confusing for you because you've been in situations where at first it might seem like people are keen and they do want to move quite quickly, but then you find that they pull away or they don't commit or things go wrong. I just want you to know that that is fully a reflection on them, not you. Because for you, Pal 5, when certain people are faced with a good thing, they will self-sabotage because at a subconscious level, they don't feel worthy of that good thing. They don't feel like they have what it takes. So many people see your value, but some of those people, a percentage of them, will end up doing something to ruin that connection. And it is not because you are not good enough. It is not because they don't think you're worthy of respect. It's often because they don't believe that they are good enough, and they don't understand how to respect others because they don't understand how to respect themselves. It's never been about your worthiness, because a lot of people encounter you and understand like you are it. You kind of ruin them for all other connections in the way because you're the full package to people. You are irresistible because people know you are somebody who needs to be taken seriously and you need to be handled with care. You need to have your standards met as a bare minimum. And some people, if they know they just don't have what it takes to provide that, they are going to dip out and move along to someone with lower standards because that is easier. You're irresistible because it's clear that you uphold the values that are important to you. You prioritize your beliefs and you are loyal to what you care about. I feel like you are at this place where a part of your irresistibility relates to this idea that you now know who you are and what you're about, and you know what you're looking for in a person. You're choosing to value stability and safety, and so you're starting to repel people and experiences that aren't in alignment with that. And so you're becoming more and more irresistible to other individuals who are looking for the same things. And I keep hearing the word grown, so it could have felt like you've done a lot of growing in terms of you actually changing the things that you're attracted to and thriving in your stability and in your comfort. Maybe in the past you had people who wanted to move towards you quickly and sort of stake their claim on you, but it was for the wrong reasons. In the sense that maybe they knew what you had to offer would benefit them, but they weren't really considering what they bring to the table. Maybe in the past, certain people who were craving that sense of safety or stability, but maybe couldn't quite let go of that pull towards chaos. Maybe those people were deeply drawn to you because you did make them feel like they were at home, but because they weren't focusing on their healing and because they couldn't let go of the pull towards instability, perhaps these same individuals often created instability in your life through their actions and their behaviour. And I feel like you reached a point where attracting those kinds of people became very tiresome. It no longer became for you. You weren't attracted to it at all anymore. Because ultimately, a part of your irresistibility is that you can offer people this safe haven. You can make them feel loved and nurtured and cared for. But you do also now have this strong awareness that it shouldn't be at the expense of your emotional health. And so now maybe you do have better boundaries. Maybe you know how to prioritize an equitable relationship with give and take. Maybe you are also looking for somebody to make you feel like you're at home, and you're not going to settle for a relationship with a person who hasn't got their shit together and isn't trying to get their shit together. A lot of people are drawn towards you. A lot of people become quickly obsessed and infatuated by you because they sense this unshakable stability within you. But some of them, it's because that's something they lack, and it's like they want that solid foundation for themselves because they're very much on shaky ground. And I'm thinking specifically of an earthquake or something like that. Like, I think you've got to this place where you've realised if you manage to find your way to stable and solid ground, there is no point putting yourself at risk to save someone who is intent on living in this place where the ground is always erupting under them and knocking them off their feet and knocking over everything in their path. Because if you were to do that, you and that person are both going to end up under the rubble. I think in the past, maybe you've had this slight irresistible pull to like save people because you're so generous and because you're so empathetic. And that is one of your strengths and one of the things that makes you so irresistible. But now you've also had this realization that it does have to come with boundaries. And that actually makes you even more irresistible because you're spending more of your energy invested in the things that give back to you as much as you give to them, instead of pouring all your energy into people and situations that are always leaving you at risk of feeling shaken and destroyed. I want to say you've learned to be generous but also selfish, and that makes you even more irresistible. I'm thinking of the Ariana Grande song, I think it's Dangerous Woman, where she says something like, I'm a giver and I'm a taker, it's human nature, or something like that. I can't remember the full lyrics. but it's because you have learned to be a taker as well as a giver, and it's not even selfish in terms of the context we usually use that word in. It's just you've managed to find this harmonious balance between being selfless and selfish, giving to others whilst also being able to give to yourself, and it makes you even more irresistible to the right kinds of people. It's like some of you in the past could have struggled with having a bit of a saviour complex, and maybe you yourself haven't been able to resist rushing in to step up and help someone, like giving everything you have to save another. And that's admirable, but you now also have this understanding that you need to be able to look after yourself so that you don't need saving, and that's why you're becoming irresistible to more of the right kinds of people, other people who don't need saving because they are also working on taking care of themselves. And they are wanting this equal partnership where you give each other a safe sanctuary, but it's not at the expense of your own well-being. You are irresistible because it's very clear that you've got your priorities in order. You know how to make people feel safe and comfortable and at home, whilst also being able to look after number one. And the right kinds of people find you irresistible because they know you are someone that they can build something solid with. You are in it for the long haul. I want to say you're irresistible because you're wifey or hubby material, and you don't have to resonate with that if you don't want to get married or you don't want a romantic relationship or you just don't resonate with those labels. But it's basically this sense of like, you're not somebody who is just there to pass the time, or you're not somebody that people can have a bit of fun with and then just forget about. Like, if you're in someone's life, it's for a long-term connection, it's for something real. I'm hearing something eternal. It's never just casual with you. It never feels casual, at least, because it's always like, you know, let's see what we can grow together. Let's see what we can build together. You are irresistible because you build people up by understanding what you value and understanding your responsibilities, holding yourself accountable, and by giving the very best to yourself and also others, and also expecting the very best in return. So let's have a look at your next few cards at Pile 5. We've got the World reversed. We've got the Star. And we've got the Queen of Pentacles. Yes, I'm absolutely obsessed with this energy, Pile 5. You are so irresistible to people right now because it's very clear you have done your healing and you are distancing yourself from situations that serve no other purpose other than being burdensome to you. So if you ever struggled with being the kind of person who felt like they had to stay in a relationship or friendship or situation because, you know, that other person needs me, like how will they cope without me? You are no longer willing to put yourself through that if you're not getting anything back from it. Because the thing is about the Queen of Pentacles, she can be loving, she can be kind, she can be loyal and generous, and you are all of those things, and it's part of what makes you so irresistible and seductive. But at the same time, what she chooses to invest her energy in, it has to be worth her while. It has to make logical sense because she is ultimately very sensible, she's no nonsense, and she gravitates towards the finer things in life. So if somebody is taking advantage of her kindness and mistaking it for weakness, she is not going to stick around in a situation that does not benefit her or does not make practical sense. And that's the vibe you're giving out. You're irresistible because you are radiating this energy of fully knowing your worth, appreciating what you do for people, and of having faith that if something isn't meeting you where you're at, there's always a new opportunity for you around the corner. Again, you are never lacking in anything. You radiate this sense of calm and tranquility, and you give off this aura of being so solid and content in yourself, with or without anyone else. You're irresistible because you embody this energy of having like cultivated an environment that prioritizes your peace. And it's clear that you are not granting anyone the privilege to take you out of that peace at this time. So there's something irresistible about your independence right now. Maybe there's something irresistible about the way you're choosing to focus on your own projects or your own ambitions, instead of just giving your love away to situations or people who maybe do not deserve to be recipients of that. It's like you're investing your energy into causes that are genuinely giving back to you and nourishing you as much as you nourish them. I'm hearing the garden grows where you water it. Maybe some of you are starting to literally plant seeds or work on your garden, or like you have some kind of home project or renovation that you're working on. There's something irresistible about the way you're giving to people and taking care of them whilst also looking after you, making sure that all your needs are met, that you're practicing health promoting behaviours, and that your emotional state is continuing to stay solid and good. You're irresistible because you're promoting more things with balance these days. And it's just, I want to say it's just a privilege and an honour to watch you blossom and grow. I feel like a lot of you have had these huge shifts. I want to say in the last 5 years specifically. Maybe for some of you, you have been through your Saturn return, or maybe it's like you've gone from your early 20s to your late 20s. Like, because I'm getting something about your brain now being fully developed, but whatever age you are, it doesn't have to be just that, but it's like you've been through this profound spiritual awakening where you've really figured out, like, hey, what do I want from life? You've figured out who you are and you just seem more solid and sure in yourself than ever before. Maybe you have physically grown, like maybe your body has changed or your style has changed, but you're really embracing it. And there's this sense of like, you have learned how to be soft and strong. And there's something irresistible about that energy where you know how to give and how to be kind and fair and generous, but you also know how to have boundaries and you know how to invest in yourself and be confident in asserting that. I want to say a part of this process is heavily focused on you not accepting the bare minimum from people. And that might not be for everyone, and don't take it if it's not for you. But it feels as though for some of you, you used to give so much and get so little in return that at one point in your life, if someone gave you like a tiny percentage of what you gave, you'd cling on to that and you'd feel so grateful and so excited and you'd act like it's the best thing ever, or you'd kind of put that person on a pedestal and praise them for essentially the bare minimum. And you are irresistible right now at this second, because if that's something you ever did, you no longer do it. And that is seductive because people know you're not going to be impressed by the most basic bit of effort. You set high expectations for yourself and you expect the same from others because you know that you are a prize. So it's almost like you have become irresistible because you are no longer hiding your disappointment when somebody does not meet those standards. Maybe there was a past version of you where if somebody didn't value the same things as you, you try and focus on like, oh, but they have these really great qualities. And that's because you are generous to a fault. Like, even the way you like to think of people, you like to, or you did like to in the past at times, make excuses for them or try too hard to understand it from their perspective. You'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt and you choose to focus on the bright side. And that is a part of your kindness and empathetic nature, and that can be a definite strength. But what you haven't wanted to do as of late is let that strength become a weakness by letting people off the hook for things that they really shouldn't be let off the hook for. Because a part of loving someone truly is holding them accountable. So you do that with yourself now, but you also do it with others. And people find it attractive. Like, it's okay giving people grace and understanding, but now you are also prioritizing what you need and your own self-respect by being honest when somebody has disappointed you or hurt you. And that actually makes you more irresistible. And some of you, it surprises you because you once had a belief that it would do the opposite. You might have once felt like you couldn't be honest because if you unveiled your mask or if you were too honest, it would make you unlovable. You felt like people would just give up on you if you were too difficult. You felt like you didn't want to put people off. But no, it's the opposite. The confidence and security that you radiate, it makes you even more irresistible. It makes people want to put in the effort. It makes people want to impress you. Like, you refuse to be walked all over and it shows. You're glowing because you are attending to your needs, and it adds to this quality of seduction. This is a really, really random message for someone specific, but I have to say it because it's coming through. But if you have had a physical encounter recently where you were left unfinished, it's like someone knew that you were kind of disappointed by that interaction, and it's like they've become obsessed with the idea of proving to you that they can do better. I keep hearing that. Or they can take care of you in that way. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing somebody say, not my best work. So maybe this person feels as though it didn't go as planned or they didn't put their best effort in and they could tell that you were not happy with it, but they want to change that. They feel like there's unfinished business and they want to try again or something along those lines. They want to show you that they can do better. So I don't know who that's for, but it is coming through. And it could be that that person finds you extra irresistible at this time. It could be that that person wants to seduce you and kind of take care of you and show you that they mean business. But let's have a look at your next few cards because I want to move on from that and focus on you. So we have got Justice. We've got the Empress. And we've got the Eight of Cups. Yes, Power 5. Since you have learned to be more honest with yourself and others, you've only become more irresistible and more seductive. I'm just hearing that you glow better. You glow better when you take care of you. And this includes allowing yourself time to prioritize your needs and be honest with others about when your needs aren't being met. So this could be something you've been practicing this past year or these past few years, or even these past few months. It's like you had to let go of something to reach this place. Maybe this is letting go of a certain belief that you always have to be the one giving to others and not receiving. Maybe it's letting go of the idea that your worth is tied up in what you can do for others. Maybe it's walking away from this sense that taking care of yourself is selfish. You've done the work and now you are embodying this Empress, and it is just absolutely beautiful to witness how far you've come. I keep wanting to say it's like you've settled into yourself, and there's this glow about you where it seems like you just feel more at home in your own skin than ever before. I keep hearing like you're not starving, and I don't know what that means, but maybe it's like you're not starving for love because you love yourself thoroughly, wholly, completely, and it shows. And you've always had this within you, but it's like within recent months or years, something has shifted where you've really been figuring out what you deserve, and you've had this intrinsic knowing about what you will and won't settle for, and you've been abiding by that, you've been committed to that, and it looks amazing on you. It's given you this whole new lease of life where you just seem so much more at peace with yourself, and like you're this more authentic version of you in a way. I'm also hearing that something irresistible about you is that you're no longer afraid of taking up space, and I'm interpreting this more in a metaphorical way. Maybe in the past you were sometimes worried about like sharing your opinion or taking what you need because you were always so adamant about giving to others. But now it's like you've reached this place where you're almost saying like, yeah, sometimes I like to be taken care of too. Sometimes I like to spread out on my throne and be worshipped like the Empress I am. And there is something irresistible about you where people, they want to worship you, they want to give to you, they want to impress you and to make you proud. Because they know that, again, you are this whole package. You bring it all to the table. And so they know they're not going to starve as long as they're also contributing to doing the nourishing. It's like you lay everything out on the table and you're like, come and sit with me, I want to share this with you. And so in turn, they want to make sure that they're fanning you and feeding you grapes and massaging your feet. They're like, thank you for sharing your amazingness with me, and now I want to take care of you. And you're becoming more comfortable accepting that, and it makes you more irresistible. Because the right people who want to give to you as much as you give to them, they also get this pure, unadulterated enjoyment from making you happy and sometimes putting you in a position of being the receiver. Seeing you becoming more comfortable just enjoying things and not worrying about what you have to do for others is blissful to a lot of people, because there's something irresistible about your face when you're enjoying something. Take it how it resonates. It doesn't have to be just in a schmexual kind of way. It could be, you know, someone wants to take you out for a luxurious meal and see you enjoying some tasty food, or someone wants to take you on a vacation and see you floating around in the pool on your flamingo or whatever that is with some palm trees. Like those moments where you just give in to the enjoyment of things and you let your eyes roll back because you're just so present and alive in that moment. People find that look that you do so seductive and irresistible. I just keep hearing you are at your most irresistible when you allow yourself to give in and get lost in the moment. Because when you lean into that and you learn to enjoy something that's just for you, there's people who love to see you take and just be present in that. And this specific message might just be for one individual. And I'm sorry that I have to say this, but I am hearing just sit on my face. So it could be like for some of you, maybe you have or you've had a partner who has told you to do that. But it's like some of you have been kind of worried about fully letting go. And maybe you've been like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm too heavy. Or maybe you've been insecure about your body or the angles. You're always thinking about how you look, or you're always worried about whether that person is going to be uncomfortable. Maybe you just have said no to that, or if you do it, you sort of have a hard time getting lost in the moment because you're always so focused and prioritizing the other person and whether they're having a good time. And obviously, you know, don't ever do anything you're not comfortable with, and don't let anyone pressure you into doing something you're not comfortable with. But for some of you, there's a message of like, if somebody is telling you it makes them feel good to please you, then believe them. Don't assume they're just saying it to make you happy, because some of you, it's like you get turned on by giving to others. You might get off on being of service in that way, but then when you become the receiver, it's like you start to get in your head and think like, oh, this must be such a chore for the other person. I bet they're bored. I hope I'm not taking too long. You start to center them again instead of just focusing on you. And it's like, no, be a bit selfish. Seeing you thoroughly enjoy the moment here is what gets this person off. So if you want to do something and you want to enjoy it and only think about yourself and your pleasure in that moment, then believe them when they're telling you that that's what they want. I'm hearing that there's nothing more hot and irresistible than when you are just fully in that state of bliss and enjoying that moment. So somebody needed to hear that. And also if it's worrying like about your body, about how you look or thinking like, do I taste okay or something like that, I want to tell you that you taste and look beautiful, and it is an absolute privilege to get to take care of you in that way. So please remember that. Like, they should be so lucky. But also, completely unrelated, but there's something irresistible about the way you treat people and your inherent goodness, and it radiates off you. I can't fully remember the quote I'm thinking of, but I think it's a Roald Dahl quote, and it's about beauty, and it's basically like, when you have good thoughts, it will radiate from you and it will make you 10 times more attractive. And that's the case with you, because you're kind and loving and generous, and you act with integrity, and you treat people fairly, and you become more attractive and irresistible to the world around you because of that. And you're irresistible to so many new opportunities because of that, because when you shine that positivity on the world can't resist giving back to you. So there's something about the way you treat everyone with respect and quality making you so much more irresistible, and it reflects outwardly. Like, you glow on the outside because the glow is coming from the inside. So let's have a look at your last few cards, Pile 5. We have got Temperance. We've got the Two of Cups. And we've got the Seven of Wands. Yeah, so Pile 5, I'm trying not to repeat myself excessively because I probably already have done, but this is all about having that balance of energies. You are irresistible because of the way you prioritise peace and mutual respect, whilst also being very much capable of sticking up for yourself. I feel like you give off a very peaceful and tranquil vibe. You know how to make people feel safe and comfortable and nurtured and cared for. You know how to get along with people. You know how to facilitate a mutual give and take connection. But at the same time, you are also deeply rooted in knowing who you are and being able to put your foot down as and when you need to. Because ultimately, you have learned how to protect yourself and the things you value, and you will not compromise on that, and it makes you all the more irresistible. You're irresistible to people because your energy is just contagious. You are very easy to get along with, and you're somebody who knows how to match energy. You're also incredibly patient with people, but at the same time, you won't be taken advantage of. You know how to stick up for what is right. But also there's this element of like, you are seductive because not only do you protect your own beliefs, but you can also be very protective when it comes to taking care of the people around you and ensuring that they are okay. And that's very attractive to people because you can be such a chill and peaceful, tolerant person. Like, you're good at looking at multiple sides of a situation and not getting too extreme in terms of your beliefs or like rushing into things. Like, you do take the time to think things through, but at the same time, you know how to look after yours. And I can imagine something kind of funny about your energy being this idea that, like, although you're usually very tolerant to people and you can stay calm even in the throes of chaos, it feels like if someone were to upset one of your loved ones, you would straight up be like, nope, that's not happening. Like, what's their address? Let me pull up. So you can go from like soft and relaxed to like up on your feet and ready to walk out of the door, ready to throw hands at someone as soon as someone tries to hurt a person you love. Like, you really will go to the ends of the earth for the people that you care for and the people that care for you. And that is so irresistible. Like, people know that you really do have their back and you genuinely want what's best for them. And they can rely on you to be this safe space, this calm and chill, peaceful person 99% of the time. But when someone does something wrong to a person you care about, it's like game over. You are quick to step up for them. So you might have this thing where sometimes you do have a slight tendency to want to fight people's battles for them a little. But I think fortunately you are investing this more in the people who would actually do the same for you. You're irresistible because you're that very ride or die loyal partner, friend or parent or sibling, whatever. You really do have people's backs, and that makes you so irresistible because you've cultivated this strong support system, and you are also that pillar of strength and support for the people who you choose to invest your energy in. You are such a beautiful and generous person, and the fact you've learned to balance it and give to people more in moderation only makes you more irresistible, Pile 5. So that is what I'm getting for your reading today. I really hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did like the reading, please don't forget to like the video. Please leave me a little comment and let me know what resonated, or just let me know which pile you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please sub if you haven't done so already. All of that just helps me in this channel so much, and on a personal note, I really enjoy hearing from you guys. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and I will see you in the next one, Pile 5.